great deal. So we've got your front I/O section on there and USB ports, etc. So there is a reset button on the far side. We've got two jacks there, which are headphone and microphone, although they're not actually marked up, so you have no idea without actually looking in the manual which one is which. A little bit disappointing, but not the end of the world. Hard drive LED, power LED, two USB 2.0, USB 3.0, and power switch. This on the top we've got a removable magnetic filter. Taken away reveals again more of this hexagonal mesh, which is great with airflow. It does appear when you look at this that you could fit 240 pounds of outside, sadly don't fit, that's it, by an inch on the end, so you are being limited in here to two 120mm fans or 240mm radiator. The offset mount will give you the option to space out slightly if you've got particularly high RAM or VRMs that you need to clear.
What we do here is go back.
Okay, so there you go. There is a tour of the GameMax Commando in white. I gotta be honest, I'm really impressed with it. I was very hesitant about this case when I first saw it come out on their website. I looked at the front panel and immediately I just thought it was worse. I saw the bit inside plastic.
Big gun.
But I'm really glad that actually I requested one. Now hopefully that is working. Is that camera working? Yep, that is that camera. I'm still setting up and having a little glass of agua, the old H2O. And I just realised that I had the GameMax video running in the background. So hopefully everything is working as it should do at the moment. At least for the foreseeable until I break something, which inevitably I will do. Good evening everyone, it's Mikesunboxing here. It is Saturday the 2nd of February 2022. Hopefully you're having a great Saturday evening. Sorry about the change in time. It's got to the point I think now where we probably will stick to 8 o'clock. I think we're pretty much, because we quite often run over, it does make it an extremely kind of a long night for us, and especially as I work on a Sunday. So we're probably going to be shifting things forward. So we're going to stick with 8 o'clock for a while, see how it goes, if it works for everybody. And
new 9 o'clock.
Yeah, 8 PM is basically the new 9 PM.
Although it went back an hour. We went forward.
Bit like 30 is the new 50. No, 50 is the new 30. That was the one. Ah, dear. It's amazing. I've had all day to prepare, really, apart from making videos, which I do as well on a Saturday, because I don't get a weekend. We were saying this actually earlier, that we don't really get a weekend, because Saturdays we make videos and do the stream. Sundays I work in the shop and then do some YouTube stuff on a Sunday evening, and we basically work Monday to Friday. So technically kind of my working days that you see me working is probably the weekend, and you probably will think I got 5 days off during the week, but that is not the case. Definitely isn't the case. So I had some chips earlier and it's very salty. I'm feeling somewhat dehydrated, so must maintain hydration levels. And we should say, first of all, thank you very much, Ugly Bob. For those of you that are new here, don't know what's going on, when we get a super chat come in, I'll be reading out your comments. So if you've got any comments or questions, super chat them away if you want to, or super stickers. And it sets off the RGB lamp, which actually is bloody filthy. Thanks for highlighting that for us, Bob. Yeah, that is pretty gross. So £10 from Ugly Bob. Thank you very much, Bob. Appreciate that. No comment, just £10. So I cannot answer your question, but thank you. Kath had to get up and turn the lights off, and Flame was on her lap, so he's upset now. Bless his heart. He's got a little bit of a kind of fur infection or skin infection. He's got little clumps of fur missing. Bless his heart. Cats. What would we do without them? Ugly Bob says, I forgot to write a message on the super chat. Not a problem. Not a problem. So, in the stream, obviously, from what you can tell from the thumbnail, we're going to be talking kind of mostly about prices dropping, more precisely probably about graphics cards. I did actually want to do a poll in the chat there, so we could have a kind of a little bit of a vote to see what graphics card would you actually buy if you could buy one for MSRP or lower. And I think that at the moment is actually pretty much a valid question. What would you buy? Now, we've all seen obviously reviews over the last 2 years of various different graphics cards from AMD and also from Nvidia, and potentially upcoming stuff from Intel, although I think that's going to be heading probably closer towards the end of summer, maybe even autumn winter period. So I think Q3, Q4 is realistic for the Intel graphics cards, at least for desktop consumers. For laptops, I think we'll be seeing those a little bit earlier. Generally the silicon, well, I think they're actually available now, they haven't released them as such. There have been some reviews out there and they're kind of looking okay-ish. They do save energy and it's essentially their first, well, technically it's their second generation, but for all intents and purposes, for their current kind of iteration, for the ARC series at least, it is going to be their first generation. They did have a stab at graphics, discrete graphics cards, back in 2000 and I want to say 99, 2000 era. I'm pretty sure there was an AGP version which was the Intel i740 or i750, and I'm pretty sure I had one. Probably mounted on some crappy SIS chipset. And if any of you are old enough in the chat to remember the Silicon Integrated Systems or SIS chipset, yeah, they weren't great. They were the budget option, mostly made by PC Chips. And I'll imagine there's some of you out there old enough to remember PC Chips motherboards. They were cheap, but there was a reason behind it, because generally they were pretty trash. And almost every small backstreet store and cheapo integrator would be using SIS motherboards. They were bloody awful. They really were. There's another super chat there from the Digital Demonic Davros. 3D, I like that name a lot. It's got a lot of things in it I like. The Demonic, probably not so much, but the Demonic, Digital and Davros I like. For the $5 Australian, is that? He says, hello geezer, I've not caught you for ages. I keep getting temp spikes on boot. Windows 11, R7 5800, hits 70 degrees, then drops. Tried everything, even second motherboard. That sounds like either, well, that's probably the CPU. I wouldn't have thought, if you've changed your motherboard, it can't really be uneven mounting on the processor. Are you going to stop? Is that thing just going to go forever? Hello, McFly? It was one super chat. Bear with.
Shall I turn it off?
Yeah, I don't think I can reach it without damaging my back. And you probably can't reach without damaging Flame, so... Oh yeah, Flame's upset already.
Sorry, Flamey.
It is disco, disco, disco. So initially I would have thought it would have been a bad mount, but I think that's more than likely going to be a bad processor. It's quite likely. I can't imagine it being anything else. But yeah, that's not good, but it's good to see you back, Digital Davros. Yeah. What was I going to say? Flame, are you taking a pee? Don't take a pee. He's just angry. Yeah, so back to graphics cards. What would you actually get? Now, this is actually something I've been thinking of this week. I've got, from last week's stream when we were talking about what micro ATX motherboard to get for my upcoming build in the little Game Max case, the Commando. I've finally got myself an ASRock B450M Pro 4. It came without an IO shield and all that kind of stuff. It was a cheapo. £50 or I think it's 53 I paid for it, which is about £20 cheaper than you can get them off Amazon. Luckily, our good friend of the channel, David Aitken, he's actually going to provide us a 3D printed IO shield for it. So we would have been doing the build tonight, possibly, but I was waiting on some parts and also the IO shield, so that'll probably be maybe next week. We might do that live build next week. But it has got me thinking, because I've got the processor, Ryzen 5 3600, got the motherboard, Pro 4, we've got some RAM, we've got tons of RAM actually, got more RAM than we know what to do with really. We actually bought some more cheap RAM this week, which was probably a little bit stupid, but anyway, it'll be used at some point. So we've got an SSD, that came today, we've got the Crucial P2, 1 TB, nice little drive, obviously got the case, and we've got a power supply for the case, which is going to be an RGB power supply in an RGB case with lots of RGB. So that's nice. We've got the Gain Max. I'm not sure what they call it. The Gain Max, it's just an RGB Gain Max power supply. So that's going to be going to the Gain Max Commando. I'm left with a dilemma when it comes to the graphics card. I really am. And with the price drops, which we kind of might be seeing, and in some instances we have been seeing, I'm really confused what to do. Now, I was just going to put in a Radeon 6500 XT and think, right, that's it. Graphics card, put it in there, get rid of it. That's it, it's done. But I'm seeing some of the prices that we've been experiencing, even just the last couple of days, with the price drop. Now, we'll do a quick recap. So for those of you that have been underneath a rock something, or basically just don't pay any attention to the media or the internet, for the last 2 years, since the certain thing has happened, all graphics cards, essentially, because people were starting to work from home and shortages, and there was an earthquake, and there was problems with water supply in the factories, etc. All that kind of stuff. There was loads of things that went on. It was basically the perfect storm. So we had a massive reduction in distribution and production, but we also had a massive intake or upgrade of demand. And obviously, when you get a lot of demand against not very much output, it causes a problem. And there was this really weird, extreme inflation of computer parts. In particular, graphics cards, which seem to be hit probably more than anything. Processors, probably, I would say, was a close second. Motherboards were in there somewhere, but mostly graphics cards were the key thing which everyone was focusing on, and they were a big problem. Hence why integrated graphics have kind of not come on in leaps and bounds, but have certainly been more tolerated by at least gamers anyway. So, now that that has kind of tailed off, let's say, and also due to changes in political stance, let's say, in the United States, certainly as regard to imports and import duties, tariffs, etc. A certain tariff which was levied against a certain country finished on the 1st of April. So much like things, obviously, if a cost is incurred by a company, generally that cost just gets kicked down the road, like the can, just keeps on getting kicked down until it reaches the end user. That's me and you, for those not paying attention. So everything's going to be costing more. So now we've got this potential reduction in tariffs. Now the tariff, from what I can gather, has generally been between 15 and 25%. So if you take for instance, a £400 graphics card, there is a distinct possibility that that £400 retail price graphics card could potentially come down to a £300 graphics card. 25%, essentially a quarter, so £400 is a really good price marker. And we've already seen it to some extent. Today, on our Discord chat, Seam at Night posted a couple of deals for graphics cards. There was a 10% discount on eBay for certain stores, so that did come into it a little bit. But there was a palette card, which was an RTX 3050, 8 gig card, not a bad card, a little bit faster than a 1070, that kind of thing, by about probably 10% or so. So actually not too bad at all. And you could pick it up for somewhere in the region of about £270, which, considering a second-hand GTX 1070 at the moment seems to go for £200, paying an extra £70 for effectively a brand new in-the-box card with a much more modern feature set and requiring considerably less power, which again is another huge issue with power at the moment. Energy is costing a lot more from April the 1st. Most people, especially those of us in the UK, have been told to kind of take our meter readings so we don't get overcharged for the next lot of electricity, etc., because there was such a massive increase in the actual cost per unit for electricity. So looking for a graphics card which uses considerably less power, costs less, is now actually something which potentially you can do. And it's really early doors at the moment. Obviously, the 1st of April was Friday, so nothing happens on Friday. And if you or any of you out there have any connections to any Chinese companies or anyone in Taiwan, you'll know that basically Friday is a written off day. Nothing happens, even to the point of you basically don't even get emails on a Friday from Taiwan because of the time difference, because they go into kind of the weekend early. So for us here in the United Kingdom and obviously Europe and stuff, pretty much Friday in terms of getting a supply from anybody over there, let's say, yeah, it doesn't happen. So that's going to be the same for retailers and distributors. They're going to be probably waiting until at least Monday, when hopefully, I say this tentatively because you never know, but there is a distinct possibility that when you open up your emails on Monday morning, maybe even Tuesday morning, depending on how long it takes to filter through, you may start seeing quite sizable price reductions on graphics cards. And because of into that kind of tariff code, which is levied against the companies importing these things, it also applies to motherboards and processors, because they all believe, well, I'm sure motherboards are, graphics cards definitely, I think processors might be in that as well. And possibly there's going to be other things in there. I don't think cases are in there. I think cases is a different case altogether, so to speak. But we could start seeing some really good discounts come Monday. And we're starting to see a few already. And actually, if you follow the used market, you'll notice that people are getting a little bit twitchy already. Now, obviously, this is kind of like we're heading almost into that perfect storm. So we went into a perfect storm when it all went shit-shaped, but now we're coming out of the other side. Seems to be things happening at the same time. So we've still got mining, which is still kind of edging towards going away from GPU mining. We've also got obviously the tariffs ending, and also we've got the energy crisis, inverted commas. So there's going to be people that are mining and are finding it extremely less profitable than it had been because of energy costs and how much it costs to actually power the graphics cards. So that's going to definitely kick in. If you're using a high wattage card, even if you've got it undervolted, you're still consuming an absolute shit ton of power. And I would imagine to some extent we're probably seeing power supplies getting cheaper as well, because higher wattage power supplies are going to be used to draw power from higher wattage rigs. People aren't going to want to buy those higher wattage rigs, so higher wattage power supplies are probably going to end up sitting on the shelf. Now that's going to be taking a little bit longer to come through, but in my opinion it will do. So we could be looking at something happening drastically next week, which would be awesome. It may take a little while to filter through. Now on the flip side of this, sorry this is a long monologue, but I'm going to try and get it all out in one go and then I can look at your questions and comments. The flip side of this is, obviously there are some companies out there, and they've shown this time and time again, companies are there to make money. That is their sole reason for existence. Now, if we're doing a transaction, if it's for argument's sake between me and you, just Joe Blogs to Joe Blogs, that's probably sexist. I probably should have added Josephine Blogs in there as well, and probably someone in the middle somewhere. But you know what I mean. If you're selling something that you've purchased to someone else, a friend, whatever, then generally you're not going to try and make a lot of money out of them, because there is no business incentive. You're just doing a favor, doing a trade. A business has a lot of things to think of. Obviously, electricity costs, storage costs, taxes, all that kind of stuff. So just because there is this tariff code change and it's been touted around that it's going to be somewhere up to 25%, don't be misled by that. It won't necessarily mean that automatically prices are going to drop 25%. As we've noticed with fuel prices, at the moment here in the UK, fuel prices, again, like with everything's getting crazy. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, I believe, took off 5p per litre for fuel. And straight away, some garages and forecourts were dropping it by 5p to keep in line with the reduced tax. But there was a lot of bastards out there. And I'll say bastards because I'm allowed to say that, I think. Maybe not. But anyway, a lot of them weren't actually passing on those costs, because obviously they've incurred costs, so maybe they're taking perhaps 3p per litre off of fuel. So although it is a drop, and there's obviously going to be some garages which didn't take it off at all, and there's probably going to be some garages somewhere that actually put the prices up still, because they saw a window of opportunity to make money. People needed fuel, everyone's kind of expecting it to be expensive, so there is going to be that kind of buffer in between. Now the buffer is going to be the bit which is going to be, for some people, is going to be a means of making a bit of extra money to pay off debts that they've got from the previous 2 years, or they could think, right, let's think long term. Do I look after my customers? Do I pass on those cost savings to my customers, and hopefully it generates some goodwill and hopefully additional sales? It's a very, very mixed bag, and I'd love to be able to say that it's definitely going to happen, it's all going to get super cheap and it's going to be great, but I don't know. And that is essentially what tonight's stream is going to be about. We're going to discuss, obviously, some of the savings. What I really want to hear from you is your thoughts, definitely, in that comments. So we're going to go through and have a look at that. I'll say some quick hellos to you guys that are in the chat, because it's customary, we do that. But eventually. What I really want to hear from you is, firstly, obviously your thoughts. Are things going to get better? Have you noticed it yourself? And if you have noticed anything, then feel free to post links in our Discord chat in the Deals No Chat section. We'll put a link in the chat right now. So if you do find any bargains, you want to be a good Samaritan and actually pass those on to other people in our community, please post them on the Discord, or just email them to me if you want to. It's entirely up to you. But I also want to know what graphics card you'll be looking at. If you could pick up a graphics card of your choice, it was in stock, and it was, let's say for argument's sake, 25% cheaper than what it is currently, or MSRP, what would be your preferred choice of graphics card? I'm still unsure. I'm really liking the thought of the RTX 3050. I know it's not a particularly high-end card, but I am looking also at the fact that it's under £300 in a lot of places. It still performs pretty decently. Absolutely fine for 1440p 1080p gaming at medium-high settings. And it doesn't use a great deal of power. It also has built-in encoders for audio and video encoding and decoding. And of course, if you wanted to, if you really feel the need, you can click on the RTX button and suddenly have light shining up your butthole, if that's your thing. So that's it. That's my monologue over with. That was the best part of 20 minutes, so I do apologise for that. I'm going to say hello to some of you in the chat. I've not been being rude and ignoring you, but super chats we do acknowledge straight away because, well,
I'm not straight away with you.
Almost straight away. So who have we got with us? So we got Sir Soppy Balls. I do love that name. I always love that name.
Up in my auto text.
Ugly Bob's with us. We've also got Rick H. How you doing, Rick? It's a good job that the text is text and not chat, because you'd sound really odd speaking to your mates, like walking into a pub saying, "Hey Rob, hey Mr. Balls, hey Mike." You probably would get some strange looks. The Giant Killer, how you doing? Waldo 135, our man with the Event 41 error codes. Hopefully that gets resolved. Sorry, Colonel 41 error codes, I should say. Even Kath has been seeing enough of that she knows it more than I do. Well done. Kath says, so Robert, is that Daria Wish? The legend that is Mike. Great to meet you. Hot UK deals. Any advice would be welcomed on GPUs. Well, thank you, Robert. And yeah, I think I remember you saying on UK Hot Deals, you asked if I was the Mike. Yes, I am. It is me. UK Hot Deals is one of those bittersweet pills that I have to swallow on a daily basis. I'm going to say this now because it really does vex me in some ways. Now, Hot UK Deals, or UK Hot Deals, or whatever you want to call themselves these days, when it started, it was a great little community, but it's got to the point where now it's under ownership of a much larger conglomerate whose sole intention is making money on referral codes. They're really paranoid about anything. So if you are, say for instance, posting links to something and you've got something which, like I did a couple of links and Kath particularly got banned actually from the site, which I think is completely out of order.
Even unban them.
She was, there was a hot deal for something and we did a review on it. So we thought we would send a link. Now, they didn't, to encourage people to obviously to buy it. It's like, yeah, we've got a great deal. This is what I thought of it. Here's my review, which obviously a review is going to be much better than a couple of lines of text in a chat thing.
There's only in the comments.
So, yeah, Kath basically got banned for that because it was down to self-promotion, because they realised that Kath's name was the same as my name, as in our surname. So they put us two together, yeah, and unfairly banned Kath. And she's now getting emails from them every day saying about new deals which are out, but she can't even get back into the site to remove her email address from it to unsubscribe from them. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it's a bittersweet pill because there are some really good deals and we actually copy a lot of their deals and put them onto our Discord site, so to share the love. And also, conversely, if there's a decent deal on our Discord site, which isn't on UK Hot Deals, then sometimes we'll post them on there if I'm feeling good-natured, but generally that doesn't happen, to be fair. But some of you guys do, so that's awesome. Yeah, so it is a bittersweet pill. There's some good deals there, and it's nice to be kind of in that thing, but also it's a little bit of a toxic environment to some extent, so yeah. Anyway, we'll move on from there. Rick H, who said, "OReilly, our good man, OReilly. Hopefully your shins are feeling better." He had a bit of a computer accident this week. Mark Point's with us. How you doing? Waldo, we said, we can hear you. Yeah, that was... I had the the Game Max, or one of the videos open in the background, trying to get the link from it, and of course it was playing in the background, and I've got desktop audio turned on in OBS, so yes, my apologies with that.
Oh dear.
I was glad actually, because I was thinking, oh shit, what have I said? Have I said anything that is going to potentially get me cancelled or banned? It's quite possible. O'Reilly said, Mike in rehearsals, working on a script. That is one thing I do not do. We don't do rehearsals, as you probably guessed from our videos. They're heavily edited. I won't lie to you there. They're heavily edited, but they're not scripted.
All the F-bombs are taken out.
So yeah, if I say fuck, shit, bugger, piss, any of those, I take those out straight away. Unfortunately, I can't from this live stream, so my apologies there. Dutch Jan, how you doing, Dutch Jan? And Ruby Red Phoenix, how you doing? Good old Wendy Bob. Had a long chat with Wendy Bob today on the Discord. Nice, it's always nice. I like being able to talk to like-minded people that have similar passions. It's a very nice thing to be able to do. Nicholas Barlow, how you doing, Nicholas? And Droner, how you doing, Droner? Wendy Bob, Rick H, yes. Anthony Carter, how you doing? Patrick LaBelle, how you doing? Good afternoon. It's good evening. We're in the United Kingdom, sir.
Sorry if my chat played up earlier, so if I missed anyone, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Kath does apologise if she's missed anybody out.
My chat played up.
Mark Point says it's 12 PM here in Vancouver. Wow. Is that lunchtime? Yeah. 12 AM's in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lunchtime. Good. That works okay. Bandy says 8 is a good time for me. Long live Match of the Day. I have not watched Match of the Day in at least, it's got to be 25, 30 years, at least.
Amazing.
Oh, those cats are hissing at each other. Damn them. Nick Barnes with us. How you doing, Nick? Droner says 1660 Super. That would be the card that you would like to get.
Okay,
good choice. Certainly coming down in price. Dutch Jan saying RX 6700 XT. Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, the 6700 XT is something which, yeah, I'm still running my my RX 5700 XT. At the moment, I've refused to pay the scalper prices, and I've basically stuck by my principles through the last 2 years, and I've stuck to my guns. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to enable these assholes to keep on charging ridiculous money. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it is coming to an end. Mark Point says MSI 3080 Gaming Z. That would be nice. That would be nice. Ugly Bob says 6500 XT. Already got one, lol. I got two. Although, one of them is in a PC in the front room ready to sell, which I should have actually listed last week or even the week before, but it's been just sat there collecting dust whilst computer components have been getting more and more cost effective to buy. So I may have to rethink my strategy on selling that one. I might have to actually just give it to my daughter, if I can ever get into a room past her floor drape. Angel, if you're watching, which you probably won't be because you're out doing things that you probably don't want to tell your father about, but yeah, clear your floor drape and you can have a computer, if I can get in there. Mark Point says, I just gave a 1660 Super to my brother. That is super, super kind of you. I believe Neep on our Discord chat actually gave his 1660 Super, or was it 1660? I've been a 1660 Super. Gave it to his little brother, so he didn't have to play on integrated graphics. Neep, that was a cool thing to do. Rick H says you'd like to see one of the new upcoming Intel cards. I'm with you on that. I definitely am with you on that. I don't think the initial offerings are going to be anything which is going to be beating Nvidia or AMD at their kind of their own game at the moment. It would be nice to see some decent competition though in that mid to top end. I think that would be good. I don't think they're going to be necessarily cheap. I think we can say quite clearly there's unlikely there's going to be kind of like a budget option. We may well see some third-party cards from, I would hope to see something from Zotac. Palette would be good as well. Obviously we won't see anything from Power Color because they, honestly I'm not too sure. Maybe someone can mention in the chat. In the moment, obviously the rules are for most companies, you can make an Nvidia card or you can make an AMD card. We don't want you making both, depending on the size of your company. Now, some larger companies, such as MSI, obviously make both. Asus pretty much make both. I think there's quite a few that make both, but some of the others don't because they've obviously chosen which flag to stand behind. But how is that going to affect Intel? Are they going to then be able to choose to make Intel cards, or do they have to stick to just doing Nvidia? Or just AMD, I don't know. Be interesting to see that. OReilly says, from the current gen, I would like to be around about the 3070 or the 6700 if possible. Yeah, I think I'm kind of, in terms of actually buying for myself personally, as for my kind of work PC or my kind of do everything PC, if it was a couple of days ago, I would have said a 3070 or a 3080. But I feel that I've actually nailed down the problem with my video editing with Adobe Premiere and AMD cards, which there is going to be a video coming out very shortly for anyone who's interested. And it's actually such a simple, stupid fix, at least appears to be, that I cannot believe I didn't think about it earlier. But I've always looked at the problem as being something to do with either AMD or Adobe Premiere. I never considered, and a lot of people probably never considered, that the problem is actually them, or me. So I've actually made my video editing process an absolute nightmare for ages. And it seems the fix was there in plain sight all along. I just failed to see it because I looked at it from the wrong angle. And it was just by chance I actually did some browsing for something else altogether. And it's like, oh God, of course. Yeah, it was literally like slap myself in the face repeatedly, give my testers a little tweak. How could you be so stupid, Mike? And it's like, I completely overlooked the obvious. So yeah, there'll be a rather interesting video coming out of that. Even if you're not into video editing, you'll find the fix for this particular problem, which I hope has fixed it. I've only known about it for about 2 or 3 days, so the last few videos do appear to be remedied, although I had said that previously. But this seems to be a kind of complete fix-all, without any stupid tweaks of variable bitrate, constant bit rates, crossing your eyes, crossing your fingers, hopping on one leg for 3 times or something. It just works. So, and also it makes video editing much smoother as well. And I can't believe I hadn't. Anyway, you'll find out more about that. It's an interesting one. Ugly Bob says 6700 XT or 2070. Always wanted 2070. Yeah, I think the 70 range cards have always been kind of what I would consider personally the kind of the high end or the kind of the slightly more luxury purchase. If you're looking just at the mid-range you want to play some games, realistically the kind of the 50 series or the 60 series would be kind of, these are cards you had to have to play games, really. Whereas the 70 series is the kind of like, you've got a little bit extra money or you want just a little bit more performance, but you don't want to be basically selling a kidney to buy a graphics card. Whereas obviously the 80 series, the 90 series and the Ti series are, yeah, you basically, the value for money proposition after the 70 series up to the 80 is kind of a moot point, unless you're trying to run 4K, in which case, yeah, whatever. Droner wants a GTX 670. If I had one, I would give it to you, but I don't have one, sorry. Nick Barnes says a 1660 or 2060 for PCIe Gen 3. 2060 is a great card. I got the 2060 Super, is now back in the PC behind me, and that seems to... Why was that buffering then? Did I drop some frames? No, OBS didn't drop frames. Maybe that did. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, 2060, still got it in there, so it's awesome. Liking it. I stupidly put in my my 6500 XT in my streaming PC, and I was doing some work this week trying to do some screen capture, and it did put an extreme load on my CPU. Normally, like at the moment, recording this, our CPU usage is basically 1% for a Ryzen 5 3600. So the GPU is basically doing everything and is essentially it's idling. When I was doing the stream, although it was a 4K stream, the CPU was hitting sort of 45–50%, and the fans were ramping up considerably, quite a lot. So yeah, it wasn't great. Chris Hartford, how you doing, Chris? Says he's waiting on a 3070 Ti to get a sensible price. I still think I would like... The thing is, when you're on a card like the 5700 XT, it's actually really difficult, the choices that are available to you. Because the 6700 XT is going to be a little bit better, but it's not going to be that kind of night and day jump. And there isn't really going to be any card, I don't feel, that is going to be a night and day jump. It's going to be just an incremental upgrade. So you're maybe going to get 10 FPS, 20 FPS, well, let's say percentages, maybe 10% faster, 20% faster, which for the money you're still going to be spending is still quite... It's just off-putting, isn't it? I feel the lower end, like the 3050s, 3060s, the 6600, those are starting to get good price, around about £300 at the moment for an RX 6600, which is a phenomenal card for the money. And hopefully there'll be further reductions on that. I'd love to see the RX 6600 coming in at sort of between 250 and 270. That would be awesome. And potentially it might even happen. Let's fast forward a little bit here. O'Reilly says, not a VIA chipset. No, I didn't have the money for a VIA chipset back in those days. Eventually VIA chipsets did become the norm. So as SIS kind of left the market, VIA stepped in and took that kind of position. So you had the VIA chipsets, Intel chipsets. Intel chipsets we had back then as well. So you had the Enforce chipsets, Enforce 1, Enforce 2. I think there was Enforce 3 and 4 actually. There's quite a few NVIDIA chipsets and they weren't too bad. So no, SIS was that at the time. Wendy Bob says 3080 at RRP for 4K, 3060 for 1080p, 1440 and 1660 Super, 3050 for 1080p. Yeah, I think the 3050 would probably stretch to 1440, just about. But yeah, overall I agree. Let's fast forward. Digital Demonic Davros have changed the pace and remounted twice yet, so it's not going to be your mount. Those 5800s do get hot. Of all the chips, they do seem to get they're the biggest stick for it. Mark Point says, I just need to buy an ITX motherboard to go with my NZXT H1. ITX motherboards, they're still really, really expensive for what they are. Ugly Bob says, damn it, with the stream starting an hour early, I'm nowhere near as drunk as I should be. Well, hopefully you've caught up now. Dave Burns with us. How you doing, Dave? Good to see you. Simple Jack Live says hi. Who else we got? Alexander says RTX 3070 versus RX 6800 XT. Yeah, like I said earlier, if I would have said previously for video editing and for all-round stuff, I would have definitely gone with the 3070. But I think now, knowing what I know, I'd probably go with this 6800 XT because it's going to be cheaper and pretty much faster as well. Even though they're at the same price point, pretty much. Yeah, it's a weird one, that. Because the 6800 is really the next tier up from the 3070. I think. I'm having lifetime issues here. J Rich says, hi Mike and Kath, how you doing? Michael Dunn's with us as well. Good to see you. J Rich says, and Poppy and Flame. And Maisie, don't forget Maisie and Daisy.
Daisy's upstairs.
Daisy's upstairs, she's just hiding because she's miserable. Dave Burns has joined and became a supporter. Thank you, Dave, it's much appreciated. God bless him. As I always say, and I'll say it again, we really do appreciate all your help and support through obviously Super Chats, Patreon, memberships, and basically just donations through emails and stuff. Super, super appreciate it. We genuinely do. To the point that we've had to convert our loft to make more room for some of the boxes for stuff we're getting. And it isn't all down to you guys, it's down to companies as well, sending us cases, etc. Oh, no, I can't say that. I've got a really cool case coming from one of our kind of regular companies we work with. I am super excited. Kath's just going like that because I'm not allowed to say anything because I'm under a very strict non-disclosure agreement, and I don't think I can release the video until, is it the 26th of April?
I think it is.
I think it's on the no, sorry, it's May. That's the other NDA. That's for Deep Cool. I've got an NDA for Deep Cool. I'm allowed to say the brand, so that's fine. Hence, I've got one of their coolers here. I've also got an NDA for another company, which I'm not going to mention, but it's a case which I think a lot of you are going to like. And a lot of people from previous videos we've done have said, that is awesome, I really want one. I just wish, and the wish that they said, the wish has come true. Most definitely. So hopefully that's not giving too much away, but certainly has given you a bit of food for thought. Oh, what was I saying here? Thanks for all your support and all that. Times are hard for everybody. I am one of those people that I can see the wood for the trees. I really can. So if times are hard, please, if you have to cancel your Patreon, your membership or Super Chats or whatever, it's absolutely fine. I will not think any less of you whatsoever because, yeah, at the end of the day, we're all pretty much in the same boat. If you're a lottery winner, then feel free to chip in extra. But for everyone else, bills are going up, everything's getting more expensive. Please, I would much rather you put a new computer component in your PC or food on your table or pay your electricity bill, although I don't really want you to pay your electricity bill, but I would rather you put food on your table and look after yourself and your kids and your family and your beloved, etc., rather than sending us money. But we do massively thank you for it if you do.
Thank you.
Kath even said thank you. You might have even heard it. Brenda Lower says, maybe I can snag an RX 6600 for under €300 soon. I think that is probably not too far away, to be fair. James Beers says, good evening, Mike. Sorry, I missed that one. Dave Burns says, me, speak up.
Speed.
Oh, speed up it, yeah, sorry. Not a problem, scrolling through. John Sullivan, hi guys, sorry, didn't realise it was this early. I will be back in an hour. Oh, sorry, John. Ugly Bob, that's a good one. Non-binary blogs. I like that. So you've got Joe blogs, Josephine blogs, and you've got non-binary blogs. Non-binary blogs, I'm sure that probably exists somewhere. I'd imagine someone has actually got a blog somewhere called that. If you have, I apologise for saying your name. Glenn's with us. How you doing, Glenn? Dutch Jan said, yeah, no company is your friend. 100%. There's very few companies that are your friend. There may be the odd one or two that most companies do the same thing. They set out with a good intention. So they may have a product which they think they can make money on, but they're not basically screwing you over. But essentially, as a company to get to a certain size, you legally have a responsibility to shareholders and stuff to make money. So that is what it is all about. Ideally, you want to be involved with a company or buy from a company that has got to the point where they're quite big, but they're not owned by shareholders. They're sole-owned companies, because then they don't have that legal responsibility to make money. Brendan says, companies want my money, preposterous. You know, I know. It's hard to believe, but it's facts. John Barnes says, surely there will be a delay in reductions due to stock bought by retailers at higher prices, pre-tariff change. Yeah, well, because a lot of stock has been literally out of stock, and quite often they'll put an order in, it takes a while to come through. Some distributors and some companies do like a rebate system. So you order a product at a certain price. If there's a massive price decrease in between it actually being shipped and arriving to you, some companies or some big distributors will actually take that off the price because they've got insurance against that kind of thing happening. So it doesn't happen often, but it can happen. So there could be price changes literally Monday. And again, if there's no stock, if it's stuff which is local to the UK, or to Europe at least, where you've got pretty much overnight shipping or overnight like air freight, that sort of stuff, we could see it quite easily. If it's coming from a German warehouse, it could arrive in the UK on Monday, and then it's going to be at those lower prices potentially. But yeah, realistically, it's going to take a little while. Nick Barnes says, what about those RTX 3090 Ti's needing 375 watts? They have money worries. No, that is, I'd say I want to. I don't want to talk about the RTX 3090 Ti. I believe it is just, to use the word from previously, a preposterous thing. It really is. It's, yeah, weird. Mark Point, Mike's got a lot on his mind today. Make the most of it. It doesn't happen often. I have actually what I think some alcoholics would refer to as a moment of clarity today, and everything seems to be falling into place in my mind. So I'm taking advantage of it.
I'm sorry,
Rick says, I think things will get better slowly. They inevitably, on a long enough timeline, things always go up and down. There's peaks and troughs for everything, always is.
Oh, Flamey.
What's Flame doing?
It's been miserable.
He is a miserable git. Ordinary Dude's with us, says, greetings. How you doing, Ordinary Dude?
Hey, Poppy.
Dutch Jan's after a power colour RX 67 and XT Red Devil. Yeah, that's a nice choice, that is. Nice choice. Mark Point says, just bought a 3050 MSI, of course. I did see that palette MSI, the palette RTX 3050 today on UK Hot Deals. It was on eBay from a relatively trusted seller, I might add, for, I think it was £270 it worked out to be. And I was kind of like, do I? I was very, very tempted. But I didn't. I should have done, actually, in hindsight. But you never know what's going to happen, do you? Oh dear, I've just scrolled miles, so I better scroll down to see what the super chat was. That is from our good man, Ricardo. How you doing, Ricardo? Hopefully you and the family are all good. Says, thanks for the content every day. It is every day at the moment. It's ridiculous. We're just bumping out the content, which is ironic because at the moment there's nothing really new and exciting to actually review or talk about, but we're still finding these things to do. Today's video was a bit of a bizarre one about my Apple Watch, which has been annoying me for a little while where it wasn't charging. And there's nothing physically wrong with it. It just, for some reason, you put it on the charger and every now and then you just get the red light of death where it just says, nope, not interested. And I always assumed that that problem was down to an electrical fault. But actually, generally, it doesn't seem to be. It's more to do with the actual watch and the way it's designed. And basically all Apple Watches, because of the processor and how they've shrunken down everything, it gets to a point where it will try and run way too many apps or do too many background services, so much so that it doesn't leave any kind of CPU power to actually work out the charging algorithm. Because it's an intelligent charging system and it takes the amount of power that it needs to, so it doesn't kind of melt the battery or overcharge or undercharge or whatever. So it literally, it reserves so much stuff for background apps like, I don't know, your meditation app or your iMu cameras, because I get notifications on there, but it's taken up so much processing power that it forgets how to charge. How can that even be a thing? in this day and age. Oh dear. Anyway, let's scroll back up and see if there's any other things I've missed there. Old Man Withers is with us. How you doing, Old Man Withers? J Rich says 70 series, entry level luxury. I agree totally. RichM says the 2060 Super is a solid card. I gotta be honest with you, yeah. That, ironically, that 2060 Super cost me at the beginning of the thing. Cost me, I think it was either 250 or 260, 270, somewhere around. I think it was 250. So now seeing the RTX 3050, which is kind of its replacement-ish, for £270, kind of restores my faith in where we're actually headed. It's not an ideal price, let's be honest, but it's heading in the right direction, hopefully. Dutch Jam wants a Duo Red Devil RX 580 in Crossfire. Wow. Crossfire is one of those things which is, yeah, just never works out exactly how you'd think to. Mark Point says, I'd like to try out Crossfire. It seems more workable than SLI. To be honest with you, I don't think there's, between the two formats, you get, SLI works well in some games, Crossfire works okay-ish in other games. In this kind of, they straddle across this grey area of being basically rubbish. And actually considerably worse now than what it was actually in the early days of SLI, when it actually worked quite well. And obviously we can't forget the people that actually pioneered SLI, Voodoo Systems. I'm trying to think what they're called then. I'm sure they were, was Voodoo, the Voodoo graphics cards, who made them? Oh, 3DFX, of course, 3DFX Incorporated. How could I even forget that? Yeah, 3DFX. Man, we need 3DFX to get back in the game. 3DFX, please enter the chat. We need 3DFX to come back on board. They were ground bacon? It was very hot. They were baking the ground. They were very groundbreaking when they came out. There's OReilly with £12.50. Thank you, OReilly. What is everyone's worst injury sustained from a PC? Finger hand cuts do not count. Broken toes are accepted. That'd be interesting actually to see how many people who work with server. If you work with a server, or you've worked in the server industry on a hardware level, there's a really, really strong chance that you've broken something. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Kath's out making a cup of tea, so she can't turn the light off.
Sorry, our water filter overflowed.
Oh, that's it? You're sacked. Markovsky says SLI was infuriating back in the day, but good fun. Yeah, that's what we need to see. That is what the PC kind of industry, the whole kind of owning a PC, we've lost the fun. The fun's gone out of it. There's some things which actually, I'm in a privileged position. I'll be completely upfront. I am in a very privileged position because I get sent all these new cool things to try out. So every day has a little bit more interest, but I know for a fact, like, if I'm getting a little bit jaded by it all, you guys must be, like, terribly. Ugly Bob is, ooh, yeah, Bob says, a mate dropped a server on his leg. Jesus. Now, there's...
Is that still going on?
I think this might... Is that going to turn off? Smart home technology, provided by Hive, sponsors of Mike's Unboxing. Not. One day they might. They bring. Oh God. What's going on here? Oh, you are. Sorry. Where did I get to? Kenny D, I have an RX 570, but I would like to game at 1080p, 144Hz or high settings in AAA games, so I'm hoping the RX 6600 comes down to about £260 to £270. That's almost like you've read my mind. I'm pretty sure it will hit that. I would be amazed if it didn't by May. let's say 4 weeks time. Mark says, I was in PC Club and we tried anything for a laugh. I was actually, this week, this is actually directly aimed at Ugly Bob there. Bob, I've actually reviewed your headset yesterday and the day before. And the Corsair Virtuosa RGB XT, albeit extremely expensive, Bob did get a decent discount, so maybe not so bad. But oh my days, what a sound experience it was. I was a little bit dubious about how well... I'll move that. Hello, Poppy. Have you said hello to the people?
Poppy.
Poppy. Say hello to the ladies and gentlemen. She's like, no, I'm not saying hello to you lot. I'm having a wash. Give me some privacy. Actually, is my head in the way? Am I covering up her lady bits?
I hope she's a lady.
Probably not. Yeah, the soundstage on those headphones is amazing. I watched Back to the Future, the original Back to the Future film on Amazon Prime. Oh my God. Literally, like, insane levels of clarity. The sound of the DeLorean starting up and reversing off of the Doc's truck that he had it loaded into. Insane amounts of detail. Like, literally insane. You hear the tyres actually making contact with the metal runners on the back of the truck. And when it changes from the metal onto the tarmac, you hear the change of the tyre. And the sound of the engine in that V8 DeLorean is seriously, like, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Who was that super chat from? David Aiken says, good evening, you beautiful bunch. I think he must be referring to the cats. Or possibly the ladies and gentlemen. Not us. Ugly Bob says, oh man, so happy you enjoyed them. Yeah, honestly, like, I used them on the USB Type-C connection, which there is a little bit of a trade-off with them. Now, you've got 4 points of kind of connectivity, so you've got your USB Type-C, 3.5mm jack, slipstream technology, which is kind of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi-ish, and then you've got Bluetooth 5.0. So I predominantly used it on USB Type-C, straight into my PC, on a Type-A connection. And yeah, 24-bit, 96 kilohertz sound. And yeah, I think I heard every single one of those kilohertz. It was an insane experience. Anyway, right, let's go back up. So, where did I get to? Well, that's an interesting one. Mark, Rick H, I don't care for anything Apple. I was in a very similar position to you. For many, many, many years. Like literally 10 years or more. And I've always been, you know me, I'm a cheapskate at heart. I don't like spending money unnecessarily. And I don't like closed ecosystems and all that kind of stuff. So Android for me worked. And it was very cheap. Obviously considerably cheaper. You can pick up a decent Android handset for probably, well, under £200, which is always a good thing. iPhones were always kind of £300, £400, £500, £600 back then. I had so many bad experiences with Android. Actually, Kath lost a job due to Android. A very well-paid job.
And you technically did
I technically did after, because of my phone not working, because of Android and how Android works. Missing calls left, right and centre, missing text messages, the phone just not doing what it should do. And before someone says, oh yeah, it was probably just the model, I went through, let me see, I went through Motorola, Nokia, about 3 or 4 different Nokia phones, at least 3 Xiaomi phones. Oh, I'm trying to think what other brands I had now. Actually, it's probably more than that. I went over to Nokia. I've probably had at least 5 Nokia phones, 3 Xiaomi, a couple of Motorola's, Bush. I even had a Bush phone. Who else?
in the 70s.
Basically, there's about a good selection. Let's say 15 phones, possibly less, possibly more.
Can you even
A
take
couple of
this one
Sonys.
back
Yeah.
to make sure it wasn't
Yeah.
a faulty one.
Yeah, basically a whole bunch of phones, at least probably 15 or more. At the time I worked for the BBC in the props department, so we actually literally had loads of phones. So I had about 15 that I owned myself, plus I would borrow the phone every now and then just to put my SIM card in, just to see if it's just me being crazy. Sony phones, basically product placement phones, I'd use them and tried them. It's like, yeah, never got on with it. Going over to Apple, I don't think, or at least not that I'm aware of, I do not believe I have missed intentionally, without intentionally missing a, we've all looked at the phone and it's ringing and it's like, oh, no, not answering that. I've had that, but to actually people get hold of me and say, I've been trying to phone you. It's like, well, there's no missed calls on my phone. I've got nothing, literally.
And you couldn't hear anyone
nothing.
talking ever.
And quite often I'd pick up the phone, hello, 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 hello. We've all done it, haven't we? Hello, hello, is there anyone there? Hello, hello, I'll phone you back. We've all been there. And
I'll phone you back on Cass Apple.
Yeah, I'll phone you back on Kath's phone because it's an iPhone and it works. So yes, I basically did that. William Bodie says, what started 1 hour before? Sorry, yeah, we've got a slightly earlier start. Should have been in your notifications. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to speak to YouTube and see what the like they'll answer me. They go, Mike's on what? you do what? On our platform? Really? And people watch that? Yeah.
Like you'd have a first one.
They did, when we got to 10,000 subscribers, YouTube reached out to us and said, now that you've got 10,000 subscribers, we'd like to give you your own dedicated channel manager. It's like, awesome, that'd be great.
We're still waiting.
70,000 later, and yeah, still not there. Anyway, let's go back to what I was at. So, where did I get to? Sky Stalker is with us. Sky Stalker, the legend. The man that is Sky Stalker.
How is Sky?
How you doing, Sky? Where did I get to? The Giant Killer says, I remember when I got my Voodoo 3 and loaded up Quake. Oh my. There's been, well, arguably 3. But for me, in my entire computing experience, there's been 2 real standout moments of technology which I've literally gone like, wow. The first one was 3DFX, adding my first 3DFX card to a PC, going from kind of like an S3 Trio 64 megabyte card, putting in your Voodoo card, and all of a sudden 3D stuff on screen which moves at a really decent frame rate, or at least better than what it was. It was like, wow. Loading up Unreal, the first Unreal for the first time with 3DFX was like, this isn't the computer I remember. Games don't look like this. This is like a whole new experience.
You said the same to me with The Sims 3 when you were fat on it, and said you've made me fat, and I didn't know you had to exercise to make you got fatter in the game, didn't you? You didn't exercise.
I did. Sad times. The other notable change in computer technology was solid state drives. The boot time from Windows from a hard drive to an SSD, that was the second one. But those are the 2 key defining moments that I can vividly remember, thinking, wow, that is an upgrade.
Mark's off.
Thanks, Mark. See you later. Yeah. Ordinary Dude says, unfortunately, the remains of 3DFX was scooped up by NVIDIA, hence SLI. Or scan line, or scan, is it scan line interleave, or is it scan, yeah, scan line interleave. OReilly says 3DFX may come back, or is this what Intel GPUs will try and do, fill a gap in the market? Could be, could be. I saw a letter, or someone mentioned a letter.
Yeah, a letter's there.
Right, a letter's there, says pizza and hot wings. Oh man. So the keto diet's not going well then.
Hot wings are not.
Hot wings are kind of diety, apart from obviously the coating.
Sauce. But it depends, doesn't it? It might not have sugar.
It's Mr. Ataku. I think that's basically not been... Whatever. You can read it. It's on the screen down there. It says, I just sold my RX 570 Strix to go towards a new GPU. Of that era, the RX 570, the 580, the Strix cards, they were really nice looking cards. Where are we? Miss now. I'm getting to the point where people are saying Poppy. So I can see how far I am behind now. The Poppy Show, yes, it is. David Aiken says, Android phones are often technically better. I will agree. On paper, I would say they probably are. The whole thing is the Android and Apple thing and PC versus Apple thing is because we often compare apples with apples, but we're not. We're comparing apples with oranges because Apple devices generally have much better, much tighter memory controls. So you don't need as much RAM to be able to do the same things as you would in kind of Windows and Android. So you'll quite often see an Android phone with maybe 4 gigs of RAM or 3 gigs of RAM, and it won't be any better for loading up loads of apps than an older iPhone with 2 gigs of RAM because of the way that they compress the RAM. We've got a similar situation happening with NVIDIA and AMD, although lesser these days, but previously in previous generations, mostly the 10 series cards. So the 10 series graphics cards and possibly the 20 series as well actually, they had the advantage, even though they had less onboard VRAM, because they compressed the VRAM or had compression technologies, so they didn't need as much RAM on the GPU to get the same quality as image. Whereas AMD fought back and said, well, our cards have got more memory than yours. It's like, well, you kind of had to get the same fidelity. But anyway, that's by the by. But that's how it works with Android phones versus Apple phones. And arguably, even though you've got Sony and Samsung, who makes some of the kind of the best lenses on the market, or at least optics-wise, Sony optics are probably the best on the market. The algorithm that Apple uses to actually process images, I don't think you can say that there's a phone on the market which actually captures a better photograph than an Apple phone. People are going to be shouting about that, but I would argue that is the case. O'Reilly says Mike does not have a YouTube channel manager because Mike has broken YouTube's business model. I probably have in some way, shape or form.
That's why they don't send out notifications.
Yeah, that's what they stopped notifications now. They're like, nah, just don't watch him. He says things we don't like. Off Gaming says, hey, Kath and Bobby, and Mike. Thanks. Actually, yeah, that's another one as well. Dave Aiken says, trying 160 Hz versus 60 Hz for the first time was a massive wow. I went from 60 Hz to 75 Hz, so I didn't really notice it to that extent. And then I went from 75 Hz to 165. That was quite a nice jump. Freckle Puny says, my first SSD was a 64GB Kingston. My first drive was an OCZ 240 gig for £60, I believe it was, from PC World. They were on offer, reduced from 80 to 60, or £59.99, reduced from £79.99, and I bought 3 at the same time. One for George, one for me, and one as a spare, which I wasn't sure what I was going to use. Possibly was going to go in Kath's PC, but she didn't really want one. And all 3 drives have failed since. So yeah, OCZ.
In hindsight, I was right.
Yeah, Kath was right.
Friends got to go.
Antonio says, high prices are dropping in Croatia too. That's always good to hear, but not enough. 3050 and RX 6600 are close to £350. Yeah, that's a little bit inflated to I think what they are here. It's like anything. If you go into Google and just do Google shopping, if you look up a specific graphics card, you'll probably see at least £100 sway between the lowest price and the top price. So if you shop around a little bit, you could possibly bring that down. I'm not saying that you're wrong, I'm just saying that shopping around, it does swings and roundabouts.
Can you do Andre?
Andre?
Andre's got to go because he's drunk AF.
Alright, Andre's drunk
just
AF.
lost his car, but can you do the... They have to go and find it.
Alright, I have to go find it. A 3060 Ti versus a 2070 Super for 200-ish euro. I'm not sure what you're asking there. Let's see if there's something a little bit further up. Andre. Searching through this chat is not easy.
Maybe tell him to join the Discord.
Andre, if I can't find it, join our Discord and ask me the question there and I'll try and answer it.
It's in the description.
I'm trying to find it. I did see it earlier and I meant to go back to it and I completely skipped past it for some reason.
Can you click on the links in the chat after it's finished?
Yes, but I don't think you can answer them.
Yeah, but can you go into it? I mean,
yeah, probably.
Like,
I'll have to have a look.
Discord link in the chat.
Yeah.
Click
Oh,
the
yeah,
chat?
yeah. Yes, you can, yeah. Where did I get to? Ordinary Dude says, I don't like Apple pricing. Yeah, the pricing isn't great. You could, well, I suppose you could argue that you're getting a better product.
No.
For me, the only thing was, I would say specifically, well, there's probably two things. Android's ecosystem is extremely open, and because of its extreme amount of openness, it's extremely vulnerable, like ridiculously vulnerable.
But you went for the cheaper ones.
I did go for the cheaper ones, but because we've got the App Store, the App Store for both Android and Apple is both sugar and shit. There's some really great apps on there. But on the flip side, there's also apps on there which aren't good. They're malware and all that kind of stuff, or Trojans, or just downright viruses. So because of the way that Apple works, you've got to pay a lot of money to get your apps published, and they've got to be vetted, etc., etc. It's really hard to add links and stuff to programs, as Linus has found out by trying to have his float plane app on Apple phones, because they do try and cut out some of the things to link to external places and external pay sources, which kind of does protect you a little bit. But generally, you've got to pay a lot of money to have an app published on the App Store. It costs, I think it's somewhere in the region of about £800 just to get a license to upload it. Whereas with Android, basically anyone can upload an app. And then if that app gets downloaded, if it's got stuff in it, you're kind of on your own. And because it's such an open system, and with Android, you've got Android supported from Android version 4 up to whatever the current one is. So there's all these different versions of Android out there with various different levels of security, some with basically no security whatsoever. Whereas at least with Apple phones, kind of, you get to a point where they do cut off support, but normally it's because the phones are kind of obsolete or almost obsolete or not used by the majority of the user base, which kind of makes it a little bit more secure. Obviously people will still use their phones when they don't have updates. Yeah, it swings and roundabouts. If you have money, or you deal with money, and you're doing it on a mobile phone, me personally, I feel considerably more secure doing it on an Apple phone than I do on an Android device. And that's just me.
But then with Apple, unless you have the cloud, you can't upload your own photos.
yeah, there's swings and roundabouts. Obviously, yeah, the lockdown ecosystem of Apple is also its biggest problem because, yeah,
iTunes.
being able to just plug in an SD card for extra storage, like, come on, it's not a difficult thing to achieve, and they could do
You
it.
want it all in the cloud.
Yeah, they want you to put it in the cloud. They want to charge you money for that additional cloud service. Arguably, I suppose having your stuff in a cloud is kind of safer because it's all backed up because it's on your phone and it's in the cloud. So if someone steals your phone or you break your phone or it gets run over by a car, if it's physically damaged, you've still got your data and your pictures in the cloud. That side of things, I think Android does better because Google storage, obviously you can just store as many pictures as you want at low resolution or lower resolution. There's no limit and it doesn't cost you anything. So yeah, it is swings and roundabouts, but for a purely looking from a business point of view, for actually being able to reliably make and receive telephone calls and do online banking with some level of security, I would say that the Apple phones take the win on that. But for general purpose, everyday use, for non-critical stuff, Android is far better value for money. And you can obviously get more choice of handsets because there's different designs. Actually, you can tell how bad the problem is with people having issues with Android phones because our Android videos on no sounding calls, like our channel generally, if we release a video, maybe after a year or so, it'll get a couple of thousand views, couple of tens of thousands if we're lucky. The Android no sounding calls video is currently standing at something like 1.4 million views. So clearly I was tapping into something which was an issue. And even to this day, every day, questions on it, questions. It didn't fix my phone, any other suggestions. It's like, just no, Android phones in general can be junk because they're extremely cheaply made. They can be good, they can be junk. Anyway, let's move on. Alexa says I still don't own a phone and most likely never will.
Good choice.
Good choice, although when social credits come in, you may not have a choice. A little bit political there, but we'll let that one settle and simmer for a little bit. Rick H says, I used to have a Windows 8.1 phone. Android is a major step up for me. I had a couple of Windows 8 phones when I actually had Windows 7. Was Windows 7 the first one? Was it Windows 8? I had the older Windows ones which were based on Windows CE. I think, no, it released Windows 7, then they upgraded it with a 8.1 skin, and then Windows 10 was available on phones. I would rather have a Windows phone, to be completely honest with you. Given the choice, I would love another Lumia. The Microsoft, Nokia, because Microsoft kind of bought Nokia. The Lumia 950. The Lumia 950 was an amazing phone. I'm actually tempted to buy another one. It was a great phone. USB Type-C, 1080p and 4K video, great sound, great screen, no apps.
Which I complained about at the
which is
time,
great.
which I think it's good now.
Anyway, moving on. William Bodie, how you doing? I think I said that already. Oh yeah, there we are. That was David's questions about the... So the S22 Ultra is blowing the iPhone 13 Pro out of the park.
You had that up on the screen.
Yeah, I did, yeah, but I just didn't read the whole thing. I only read the first line. I didn't see that. In fairness, I haven't tried a Samsung phone because I probably wouldn't buy a Samsung phone purely for the fact that if I look, well, the majority of comments and questions on any of our Android videos for problems is Samsung users. Invariably, it will be Samsung. Now, I know obviously they've got a big market share, so obviously that is going to come into it. But I would say for every 10 comments, probably 4 or 5 are going to be specifically for Samsung. Lucky Man says, hi Mike and Kath, having a beer, hope we are all well. Yeah, not too bad. And my back is, I'm not going to move around too fast because I might knacker myself up. But yeah, not doing too bad. Hopefully you are also. Blake's been on Android since HTC Desire in 2010, never had any major issues. Awesome. It's probably down to a combination of apps that I was using on the phone, but that shouldn't come into it. And in fact, I could prove it because almost every single time that I had an issue, I could remove the apps, do a complete factory restore, so it's kind of basic as you could possibly get, then use the phone for a few days, and I would still get the problem. So I didn't have the issue with apps. Normally, it was actually down to Google and the Google Assistant, because the Google Assistant uses the microphone to, obviously, it's waiting for the trigger word, the hey, and it's always listening, which is kind of worrying in itself, but we'll get past that. So because it's always listening, there's obviously a mic in there. Now, if it switches to the mic, then when you make a telephone call and you phone someone, you're like, hi, hi, and you can hear them, and they're like, hello, can you hear? We're back to that again. And it's because the software hasn't released the microphone port for the dialer program.
Got a lot better.
It probably has got better.
Our views have gone down more so than what they used to be.
It's less of a problem now, but it used to be in probably 3 years ago. I think was probably the peak of it. It's always been in our top 3 videos every single month since we've done them. So it is a massive problem. Although saying that, the iPhone one is there, but that is because specifically the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 had a fault with the chip where it wasn't soldered properly, and they'd get hot, you'd do an update or something, it would overheat and the chip would actually lift off of the circuit board. And it was a known problem. But yeah, luckily it only affected a certain batch of phones, which were just starting to be phased out now and people haven't got them. So that video's started to tank. Mike, what do you think is a better way, buy a used RTX 2060 6 gig or a new RTX 3050 8 gig to buy to stream some games on Twitch? I'd go with 3050, I think. Yeah, I think the 3050 is probably the way to go. The used RTX 2060 is probably going to cost you about 250 to 300 quid. The new RTX 3050 is going to cost you about the same, possibly slightly more, but it's going to be brand spanking new. And it's got an extra 2 gigs of RAM, which will be useful. Right, where did I get to? Pete Unwin says, hi Mike and Kath, how you doing, Pete? Mark Point says, I hate the whole debate of Apple versus Android and just don't like both. I don't like either one of them, and I'm not an Apple fanboy, but for me personally, I've just found it to be a more reliable experience, let's say.
And you didn't go willingly?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I really didn't want to. I don't like Apple as a company, and I don't like the Apple ecosystem.
And after a week,
I don't even like the phones.
You had it back in its box.
What's that?
After a week of going back to Apple from Android, you had it back in its box.
Did I?
Yeah, but you liked the watch, so you got it back out and started again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, the Apple Watch, the combination of the Apple Watch and the iPhone is a really nice combination for me. Mark Point says I own both and rock iPhone for my daily. Yeah, I've got at least 3 other Android phones here. I choose not to use them unless I'm making a video. Or maybe if...
Angel's broken hers again.
Yeah, when Angel broke her phone, it was like, oh, have one of these. OReilly says you can use external storage on Apple if you connect via the charging port Lightning or Type-C, but you need an adapter which Apple should provide for free. Yeah, they should just provide a slot so you can stick a micro SD card in. That would be the idea. David Aitken says the lines are blurring. Yeah, I think actually you're probably right. We are getting to that point where the technology is... Basically everyone shares each other's IP now, because Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Android, Google, Samsung, etc. They've all got cross-patent applications going against each other because at some point or other they've all taken themselves to court over something, some infringement. So now they've got this kind of open agreement where they can change technologies between. So they can pick and mix what is working the best and they can make use of it and license it or get a better way of licensing it. So they're not quite as locked down as what they used to be, which I think is actually a good thing. So they are becoming better. I am actually tempted in the near future to try a new Android, the new Pixel or something, and see what it is actually like as a daily driver, whether or not I can go back to it. But my whole thing is the security and the App Store. The hardware physically in the phone could be perfect. And it might take amazing pictures and it might have loads of storage and stuff. But if it gets to a point where almost on a daily basis, the kind of the Sun, the Daily Mail, the Evening Standard, whatever the newspaper choice is or application says, delete these 10 Android apps now. It just happens so often. It's like, oh God, I can't be bothered with that. And we've worked hard for everything we've got. Literally, like blood, sweat, tears, the whole works. So anything that I've got, I don't want being hacked by some scammy app just because I can save a couple of quid on an Android phone. I don't want to put myself in that position. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. If things improve, if they sorted out the App Store, I would go back. I can honestly say that. If they sorted out the App Store, tightened that right down, had a real lock on the hardware and what would actually run and what wouldn't, I would get involved. That's another thing as well, because all these different manufacturers like Xiaomi, they were absolute assholes because even though there was a security update which was released, they wouldn't release it to the phone for a good couple of months after it's been released. And it's like, if this is a critical security thing, which potentially could lose my savings or lose access to my bank account or my PayPal, I should have that as soon as it's available. But they don't do it. They're like, well, we've sold that phone. It's been on the market for a year now. We're concentrating on this model now, so yeah, whatever, that's fine. Whereas with Apple, if there's an update to iOS, it comes out and it goes across all models. It may not be as quick, and it may not cover all the patches, but at least what's your mum on? iPhone 7. So yeah.
But she's got a higher operating system than me because I haven't updated mine for over 2 years.
Kath's mum's on iPhone 7, I'm on iPhone XR, and we all get the same updates.
I don't do.
I do take my security on phones quite seriously, as you probably guessed. Waldo135 says, my old Android phone alarm didn't work sometimes. There was a really weird thing in a certain version of iOS where the clocks went backwards and it disabled everybody's alarms. I remember that quite vividly. Yeah, I did say it last week. William Bodie says, RTX 2060, 1780 use too much power. If I have the money, I'll go for a 3000 series. Yeah, I quite like the sound of a 3050. OReilly says, David Aitken, I agree that Android phones are ditching the SD cards for extra storage. That does seem to be happening actually, yeah. In favour of Google Cloud Storage, but you get unlimited space and a Android phone backup. Nom nom this space. Yeah, it's a shame that you can't kind of pick and mix what you use. So I'd quite like to use the Apple iStore, the Apple App Store, on an Android phone. That'd be great. To use iOS on an Android hardware phone. Why can't that be a thing? Someone will do it one day.
That'd be a legit thing, wouldn't it?
Matthew Day, from my £10 upgrade deal, the Y330 to my latest, never had an Android problem. I've just cursed myself now, haven't I? To be honest with you, I was probably in a minority of users because I was making and receiving probably... How many phone calls a day do you reckon I would get on that Preposterous phone?
Yeah, loads.
About 7 or 8 an hour? Sometimes more. Yeah, I'd probably make a good... Probably about 70 to 80 calls a day. Which is a lot of calls. So obviously, if you're not getting those come through, it is pretty bad. And because I was working in TV, obviously it's a live production. So if someone's trying to call you to say, Mike, we need such and such on set, if they can't get through to you, that ends up costing the production money because they're waiting to get hold of you, or they've had to send a runner off the set to go and find me, to find the prop, to then get it back onto the set. So you can understand the predicament I was in. And actually, if you work in pretty much any production, I think mostly, if they give you a production phone, it will be an iPhone because of the security and the reliability. George, how you doing, George? Says I've used Motorola phones and can say they are far more worse than Samsung, or far more worse off than Samsung. Yeah, I would agree. Motorola phones, the Moto G4 Gen 4 I had, which was a great phone in terms of specs at the time. It beat everything else on paper, and it was a good price, like £150. Nice phone, very ergonomic, had all the features you wanted. Had all the new features that were available in the operating system, and it was, yeah, extremely unreliable, like ridiculously so. And stupidly, I got it, and after the first couple of weeks, I was like, oh yeah, this is a great phone. And it wasn't until a little while after I realised how bad it was, and I was saying to people, yeah, you should get one of these, these are great. It's like £150, got all the specs. Yeah, because people used to always come to me as the tech guy and say, Mike, what do you recommend I get? So, oh yeah, get one of these Motorola phones, they're brilliant. And there was one guy, Kath mentioned his name the other day. Simon. He went out and bought the G5 version because that had just come out slightly after, and he hated it because it was unreliable.
But funnily enough, he was the only one that could get through to you.
He was the only one who could ring at times, yeah.
Good.
Chris Server says, bought a Pixel 5 and was great, but got a deal on the Pixel 6, amazing battery life and camera. Yeah, I quite fancy it. I quite fancy a Pixel 6. Tristan G says, I made it easy. I don't have a phone.
He's off now.
Cheers, Tristan. Thanks for joining us. Junior Thomas says, using a Samsung A50 since 2020, still running fine. Good to hear it. Yeah, maybe Samsung phones have got better. I have been tempted, again, like I said. I do see these deals come up and I do think to myself, do I, don't I? I am quite entrenched in iOS now. But it would be nice to have a change.
Break.
Yeah, have a break. Have a breakdown. George says, however, my iPhone 11 does work well with 2 SIM cards. Cool.
Right, get the cooler open.
Oh yeah, I was gonna. Oh yeah, I need to look at that, don't I? Let's see. Worldwide stats: Android 72%, Apple 28%. John's Lily saying, both work well, but you pay a premium for Apple ecosystem. I don't think the stats kind of reveal the real picture there. Now, I'm not playing devil's advocate and I'm not disagreeing because the stats are the stats. Android phones do have like 72% of the market, but you have to take into account that that market is a global market. So you are going from, without being disrespectful, you've got people living in kind of mud huts in the middle of nowhere, but then you've also got on the flip side, you've got those kind of high rollers, for want of a better term. So you could be selling a large percentage of your Android phones to people who literally, that's all they can afford, or that's all they can get, because they don't sell Apple iPhones cheap enough. And there is, if you look on amazon.co.uk or amazon.com, look for an Android phone, you'll find an absolute whole bunch of them for less than £50. Now clearly, they're not going to be great, but they're going to be possibly suitable for making phone calls. So to get 72% of a market share when you're selling basically tat isn't difficult. It really isn't. So the stats, when people say, well, more people prefer Android, I don't think they prefer Android, but I think because of their socio-economic status, that is their choice made up for them. Which probably sounds really bad, but it is facts. If
I don't know if you go for like a.
Because I was the same. I wanted an iPhone. I liked the idea of the iPhone, the ecosystem and everything. But at the time, it was prohibitively expensive. So I couldn't afford it, or I couldn't justify the money. So I bought a cheaper Android.
Whereas I'd have an old iPhone for the same price.
Yeah. Kath would buy an older iPhone, but for similar sort of money. But I didn't want the older iPhone. I wanted the newer iPhone, but I couldn't afford it. So I went for a newer Android. Which, again, explains some of that market share. Some people obviously are going to buy Android out of choice, and some people are going to have some people are going to have Android out of choice. Some people are going to have an iPhone because it's been bought for them. So the stats aren't entirely clear, but Android certainly does have a bigger share of the market, which is also a problem with why it's not inherently, but that's why it's less secure. Because if you're looking for if you're a hacker, or trying to export malware or make money on apps, if you've got a huge market versus a quarter of the market, which one are you going to target? Which is the whole kind of Mac versus PC argument. PCs get littered with viruses on a daily basis, and people find vulnerabilities because they know it's a bigger market to get. It's not because Windows users are inherently more stupid and going to click on links that they shouldn't. It's because it's just a huge market. It's all about numbers. Anyway, moving on.
Lucky man's having patience. You must learn printed on the back of your t-shirt.
Okay, that was a good idea. Blake Ancliffe, work gives me an iPhone for the van. Can't get used to it. I can call out through the van's Bluetooth, but incoming calls go through the phone. Bizarre. Yeah, Bluetooth is always a little bit problematic with, I think, pretty much most phones. Sometimes it just works, but that's the less. Jacob says, hello, how you doing? Chris Hartford says, you only really use mainstream apps on Android, don't see the risk. But that's it, yeah. If you are only using mainstream apps, then you are going to be more secure. But there's always going to be something which is going to be less secure. Now, even things like Active Fit, for one, is one that I can just think of straight off the top of my head. Active Fit on Android was hacked, and they gave away something like, I think, 15 million people's passwords. And because of how it worked, it basically left them wide open. There's been loads of them. If you go to haveibeenpwned.com, put in your email address, and you'll see there's all the lists of apps which have been hacked, or companies which have been hacked.
It's all big ones.
And it's all the big companies.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn,
It's always on.
Facebook. Who was the other one recently? It was quite a big one. Can't think, but anyway, yeah. You can see where it is there. So yeah, it's a bigger target. That's going to be where your risk is. And think of it like a nightclub. If you've got a nightclub which is completely open, hasn't got bouncers on the door, you're going to get all sorts going in there. If you've got a nightclub with bouncers on the door that are kind of half decent at their job, at least you know you're not going to get some lunatic coming inside. That's the theory. John Sullivan says, I'm on Android, Samsung Galaxy S20 Plus. I'm really happy with it. My last iPhone was the 3GS. Wow, I had a 3GS. That was my first phone that I actually had on a contract, was the 3GS in white, the 32GB version. It was an amazing phone.
I had a 3, didn't I, before that? Didn't even have a video on it.
But I'm thinking of going back to iPhone next year, once I pay off the S20. Just fancy a change. Foxy Stoke says, hi guys, Pine phone for the win. Yeah, I've seen that mentioned a few times actually. That's an interesting project. I'm not sure if it's actually available over here yet. Is it Pine phone, which is US only at the moment?
I don't know. You're talking clear phone.
It's kind of that thing, yeah. Lucky Man says, having patience, you must learn printed on the back of my Mikesunboxing sweatshirt. That's cool. Stuart Cleary, our man Stuart, 21 years with Vodafone at £60 a month because I upgraded my Samsung phone every year. Switched to Gomo, they don't do phones and they have no bricks and mortar shops, but got the €8.99 a month for life. It's a bloody good saving.
Did anyone ever hear of, what was it we had?
Oh, yeah, we had
we didn't ever pay.
Avivo.
Avivo.
We had a SIM from a company called Avivo.
It ran through Vodafone.
It was on Vodafone's virtual network, and the theory was you had the SIM card, you paid £5 for the SIM card, which was a one-off fee, and all of your data, your minutes, and your texts were paid for by watching adverts.
But they never put any adverts on.
But the adverts never worked. So every month you'd get this new allowance of, it just seemed like it was loads of minutes, loads of text and loads of data.
So it's like,
and if you needed more data, you could just watch more ads.
It was us and the kids and Mum.
Yeah, there was at least 5 of us on it in the house here.
They kept putting the SIM up.
Yeah, and I managed to order it. It was wonderful because not many people knew about it. So I ordered for me, Kath, the kids, and Kath's mum. And when they come through, the SIM cards were in consecutive order, almost. So Angel's was ending 816.
That's mine.
Oh, sorry, Kath's was 816, Angel's was 818, George's was 820.
And my mum was 819.
Kath's one was 819 and mine was 843. So we had exactly the same telephone numbers. The first the first 8 digits were exactly the same, but the last ones were all 800 something. So it was almost like buying a golden bundle of numbers. It was amazing. But then I switched over from Avivo to, oh God, who was it who messed it up?
The one you know.
No, they didn't mess it up.
They did. Oh no, was it?
No, Vectone. We moved, because when they went bad, we moved all of the accounts over to Vectone, which was kind of a similar sort of deal, quite cheap. But then I went from Vectone to my current provider, and when they switched the number over, they basically lost my number. And that was part of the reason why things went very badly wrong for us at a certain place, because no one could get hold of me. Now, I didn't know my number had gone missing. So I'm looking at my phone thinking, oh, I was on holiday anyway, or not in work, and the phone wasn't ringing much. So I was like, cool, this is ace, nice and quiet. I could call out, no problem.
Text out.
But I wasn't getting messages, so yeah, it went very badly wrong. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go back to, I'm a Coconut says, hi Mike, Moz and chat, how you doing, I'm a Coconut? And where are we going? Oh, graphics card. So I think the general consensus is basically anybody is going to want any graphics card they can get. Now, I've had this on the desk for ages, so I'm going to look at this cooler just to change gears a little bit. So this is from Deepcool. This is their AK620 dual tower, dual fan cooler. I have not seen this at all yet. I've not taken it out of the box for myself, or for anyone else for that matter. So you guys are getting this as I do. From what I can tell, this is supposed to be a pretty decent cooler. But as I said, I've not tried it. I've not even opened the side. I'm not very good at this, actually.
Just don't make a career out of it.
Yeah, I better not make a job or a career or a lifetime thing about it. So if anyone's actually got one of these on their computer, let me know what your experiences have been. I'm looking for kind of gotchas straight out of the box here, because the thing is with a lot of companies, they, especially nowadays, they seem to go on market trends. And market trends aren't always necessarily good things, because they just all jump on a bandwagon for promotional and obviously to grab a market share, but they don't always look at the bigger picture. So my feelings are with this that it's actually going to be quite big, which means it's going to be difficult for gaining access to graphics cards. Obviously, if you can't buy a graphics card at the moment, then this is probably going to be the cooler for you. So actually, let's put this on the overhead so you can actually see it. Has that worked? Yes, it has. Oh, and I'm a Coconut still there. Let's get rid of that.
Michael Craig's first mobile was a Coca-Cola Sony Ericsson. They got from saving up wrinkles from Coca-Cola cans in the early 2000s.
Bloody hell, that is amazing.
Focus points.
Is that in focus? Talking of focus. There we go. So that should be barely visible to some of you ladies and gentlemen out there. Aesthetically pleasing YouTube name says, I predict that the semiconductor prices will go up since there might be a huge shortage of neon gas in the coming future. Yeah, there's always going to be something in there, unfortunately. And OReilly's saying, gotcha, spring clip mounted fans, Mike's personal nightmare. Well, they can be. They can be a nightmare, but they can also be actually not too bad. Which is what I'm hoping this is going to be like. So, nice little printed sleeve box, printed on the inside as well, as you can probably just about make out there. That to me seems a bit wasteful and pointless. Nice touch though, I suppose. So CPU cooler, you can tell that 'cause it says it on the box. It's a bit of a waste of packaging, isn't it? Why not just get that printed on there to save that cardboard? It's not as if they do the same cooler twice, but anyway. Let's have a look. So it seems to be actually quite well packed. And little grabby bits on the side to pull it out. Lovely jubbly. So that's our accessories box. And actually, is there anything else in there? No. That's actually lighter than I was expecting. I was expecting this to be quite lumpy. So see if there's no obvious madness. I actually quite like the way this is packed, because it's all pretty straightforward and simple. Now the first thing I want to do is the tension test, because these springs are a pain in the backside. They really are.
Patrick LaBelle uses zip ties.
The zip ties are the best way. And looking at those fans are slightly recessed in, so they're not flush with the side of the fin stack there. So I don't know, that's actually not too bad. Yeah, those are quite loose. Okay, that works for me so far. I like that. That works. Excuse me. There we go. Some technical information here from the aesthetically pleasing YouTube name. Brown cardboard is not a very good print surface. To print another piece of thin paper, polythene needs to be attached. Brown cardboard only accepts black pigment properly and cheaply. That's interesting to know.
I prefer brown cardboard, to be honest.
Yeah. Brown cardboard doesn't look nice on the shelves.
But I
Doesn't
don't want it on the shelf.
And being that most of us don't really buy from the shelves these days.
Oh, I see what you mean. In shops.
Yeah.
Not in the dining room.
So let's remove this styrofoam. These fans look quite nice and beefy. Now the fans they're using on this, from what I've been told or what I can recall, these fans are not sold separately anywhere. So they are specific to this cooler and this cooler only. So, yeah, clips aren't on, not holding it on like aggressively tight, which is quite nice. And you've got a relatively, what's the static pressure like? I know this is a stupid thing to do. Yeah, go on then. Normally, just by turning the fan blades, you can get an idea of what the airflow is going to be like, and you can, if you can feel the motor, like the notch between, means it's going to be actually quite decent and powerful. This is somewhere kind of in between. It's an interesting design actually, the blades. There's a lot of them. It's like 9, 10 blades. Where am I counting from? So from there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 blades, yeah. Nice rubberized corners. And how do the clips fix in? Alright, so nothing particularly clever going on, which is always nice to see. And do those bits come off? Those appear to be fixed. So yeah, the rubber corner pieces seem to be fixed. I can't appear. They don't want to come off. Actually got some nice little detailing on there.
Is it HDR or DCR?
Is it?
Giving me pixelation in dark areas.
I haven't got HDR or DCR on, so I don't. It's probably DCR on your monitor. That makes the response time faster, but it kind of it can make things a little bit more grainy.
But was it when I turned
Might be
the light on?
it could be the actual camera itself. I'm looking on the screen on my OBS and it looks okay. Doesn't seem to be any obvious gradients. Can you see that? Is there gradients in colour or pixelation?
Doesn't seem to be.
No. Okay. So yeah, nice little fan there, 120mm. No RGB, sadly, although some people may prefer that. So this fan is the FK120, which, like I said, as far as I know, isn't available separately. Nice little waffle design going on the tower. It's quite different. And there's some sort of bizarre sticker on the side here for something. Not we've got one on that side, so there is some sort of production label sticker there, which says 0201. So maybe that's production date. I'm not entirely sure what that is. But it's coming off. Is that 0201? Did you say? Or
I was looking it upside down. I thought it said 10.
or it could be 1070.
Might be.
Not too sure. Let's remove it anyway. Try not to damage the plastic on the top.
Use your nails.
Use my nails, yeah, like they exist. I'm not sure what that is.
It might have been the ice.
Oh,
Turn the other light on, mightn't it?
Could be. Okay, so on the top, this is something actually which I like, but I don't know if I do or not. Is on the top we've got this kind of, there's a pattern on there which looks like it's kind of holes, but I don't think it is. I think it's just printed on top. I don't want to scratch it too much, but it's kind of reflective. When I was watching videos of this, I assumed that those were holes. And I don't know if do they look like holes on the camera? See if I get a decent angle.
Yeah, you can. Just about.
There we go. So they look from that angle as if they're actually hundreds of little holes, like those kind of 3D printed IO shields, but on a more kind of condensed version.
You can buy them separately.
You can you?
I think that.
All right. Ah, it might be the FK140s you can't buy separately. My mistake. So yeah, that is solid. You can't actually physically do anything. So it's an interesting pattern they've made on there. And does it actually come off? Oh. This is where I break it. Oh, actually, no, it looks like it comes off with very little. Yeah. So there's not really a great deal to it. And definitely no holes. So if you want to, you can actually gain access to this. I wonder what that screw does. Or what would it actually attach to? I wonder if you can, looks like you might be able to remove that top section.
Yeah, the word's perforated.
Perforated, well done. Thank you. See, that's why I have viewers, to help me out in tight spots where I lose the ability to speak English.
Words.
Or yeah, just words. So I'm assuming
Don't try this at home.
this is, if I undo this, will all the fluid come out from the heat pipes?
Bang!
Aesthetically pleasing YouTube name says I like it without the cover. It looks more steampunk. Look at the size of that frickin' screw. That's a monster. O'Reilly says, will Deep Cool want their cooler back now after Mike is deconstructing? Well, yeah, they might not. They might get it back, but it won't be in the same condition that they sent it, that's for sure. So, oh, that's That's actually quite a nice finish. So potentially if you wanted to, you could take off both of those tower tops if you like the older silver look, and potentially for clearance issues, because obviously that extra top part does add a little bit to the stack. So you can, because the fans are adjustable, you could move the fan down a little bit more and move that down. I wonder if I've got a reliable way of actually measuring that height. Probably not.
Might you just measure the two things you took off?
Well, and take it away from what they say it should be.
Maybe.
That's not going to work for me. So let's try the alternative. So with the top section removed, we get a clearance of, actually that's not quite firmly up there. So yeah, that takes it down from 160 mil, well 161 I make it as, and we'll take it down to probably about 157, which actually makes a big difference because there's going to be a lot of cases out there which don't have 160 mil clearance. In fact, from all the cases I've reviewed, 160 mil is kind of the borderline almost. So that is good. What do we say? What's the actual specifications on the cooler? If I could see with my old man eyes. So where are we? Product dimensions are 129 by 138 by 160 mil. So I actually think that potentially isn't correct either. So this table may not be entirely. No, that is, yeah, 100 and... Arguably, I'd say it's 159 actually. So yeah, it is just slightly under, so 159 mil. So if you are looking at putting one of these in your PC, then as long as you've got 159, you'll be all right. Now this is something which annoys me. This is, because the way these clamps work, actually putting them down in between two close stacks is pretty difficult. Yes, Kath?
Chris Hartford.
Chris Hartford. Nice looking cooler, but aren't two fan coolers no better than a single fan? It depends on the stack. So if you had a single stack, so imagine you just had one tower, if you had a fan on the front, a fan on the back, it would make very little difference. But because you've actually got two stacks and double the heat pipes, you've got double the thermal capacity, but you've also got double the resistance. So having a fan on the front and in the middle, any of the reduction in speed from the, let me put the fans there. So that fan there is meeting with these fins, which is giving resistance straight away. So as the air gets to this second part, it's at considerably less speed than it would be if you had a fan in the middle. So the fan in the middle effectively is just assisting the front fan to push the air through both stacks. If you had something like the Arctic Freezer 34, the difference between having a front and a rear fan is about 1 or 2 degrees, maybe 3 if you're lucky. But with having a dual tower setup, because you've got the heat being dissipated on both stacks, it does make a big difference. So if they did this, for instance, in a smaller, say a single stack version with a single fan, you'd see a considerable less temperatures, which they may or may not be doing, and I may or may not be reviewing coming up shortly. But I couldn't possibly mention it. So yes, this is actually quite a nice cooler. It seems to be very well made. Deep Cool from kind of years back actually were, I would consider more somewhat of a budget company or budget range. But this appears to have ticked a lot of boxes for me. So you've got what appears to be a completely asymmetric design. So obviously you don't matter which way round you have it. Doesn't make any odds at all. Some people prefer to have a slightly swept back side on one, but what they've done is they've cleverly cut out a channel here and here, So if you do have any RAM compatibility issues, you can just mount your cooling fan higher. Obviously that is going to need more case room. Or you can have a fan here in the middle or on the back. So if you have got RAM clearance issues, actually your RAM's going to be kind of here. So if you've got RAM issues there, you can just put your fan on the back and in the middle, or you can mount it there because it's asymmetric design. Quite a lot of companies nowadays, they're doing these dual setups, but they'll have like a slimline fan on the front and a regular one in the middle, or maybe a 120 in the middle and a 140 on the outside, or vice versa. So that's actually pretty decent.
Skim through the questions quick.
Right, so I'll look at your questions a minute.
Go from where we. What was the last one I told you to look?
Actually, let's have a quick look on the bottom before I do that. See, it's got the idiot sticker, which I always forget. Warning, remove before installation, and it tells you the size of the base plate. So it's 52mm by 42mm. And what you've got there is you've got the 6 heat pipes, which are nickel plated, and then encased in a copper slug, which is then also nickel plated as well. And does appear to be actually, it's not a mirror finish on there, but it is. Ooh, wow. Yeah, that does feel really smooth actually. That is, yeah, that feels baby smooth. So yeah, this appears that they've actually done a pretty good job. Lucky Man's asked the question there, do they get a fan splitter? I would be very surprised if they didn't. That's actually quite a nice little fitting kit.
Can't see.
Oh, sorry, nice little fitting kit there of the components. This is compatible with LGA 1700 out of the back as well. So Intel, basically pretty much all the Intel sockets up to and including LGA 1700, and of course AMD, AM3, AM4, various different brackets there are included. Not a great deal of them actually. That looks like it's going to be quite a nice easy installation. And you've got the long ass screwdriver to get down into the middle. So that is kind of like they've taken a leaf out of Noctua's book there and a few others, giving you that long screwdriver to mount that down. Can you reach it with a standard screwdriver? I'm going to say probably not, which is why they've included it. Oh no, that's a relatively standard screwdriver, and you can still gain access. So if you don't want to use those supply screwdrivers, you will probably be able to get away with most regular screwdrivers. Electric ones you probably struggle with, but most manual ones you'll be fine. Was it Bobby? What? It's alright, I won't take it. Oh, get up. The keyboard. Don't touch the keyboard. Don't end the stream. Sorry, ladies and gents. Poppy's being a diva. Out! Leave! Out! Ah, oh god! Ouch! That's painful. Right, leave me the feck alone. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I was attacked. Look, all sweetness and light now.
They can't. Oh, yeah, they can't.
She was like a freaking lion just now. Now look at her. Look, even I had to move the keyboard so she didn't end the stream prematurely.
Nick Barnes' kitten turned his PC off. Just now.
Technis Corner. Let's go. Right. Do you want, guys, want to see any more of this, or you've seen enough? I think I've seen enough. I've got a good idea of what's going on here.
Did you get a flat fan splitter? That's what you were looking for.
You get the you get the fan splitter. Actually, that's quite a decent one because it's small and convenient. I don't like the fan splitters where they're like this long and they've got braiding and all sorts on them.
Fanny's might like it.
Just a normal black splitter. It's awesome. And you do obviously get included a little bit of thermal pasta. I'm quite looking forward to this one, I've got to be honest with you. I do like a good cooler review, and it's always good because, well, it's always something new to try. My kind of key things are... What the hell are you doing?
Watching her ears with a lazy way.
Lazy.
It's just like her granddad.
Hello? Hello? Ah, ugh. Oh no, now she's watching me, she's going to attack me. I'm a bit scared.
Watch out.
Right, I'm going to put this back on whilst attempting to answer your questions. What could possibly go wrong apart from me put this on the wrong way? Actually, is there a wrong way? No. Is there? No. That way up. I've literally only just taken it apart, so I should know this by now. Okay. Jeff Watson says the ID Coolin 240mm cooler was supposed to be LGA 1700 compatible, but didn't come with the mountings and standoffs. Bloody idiots. What's that?
She was licking one paw and cleaning her ears with the other.
She's multitasking. Patrick LaBelle says, with RAM, always set the voltage straight to 135 in bus. I don't remember having compatibility issue since doing this. I've actually bought some cheap ass RAM off of eBay, which was DDR4, was it 2600 or 2666? But it didn't list an XMP, only listed as being DDR4 2666 at 1.2 volts. And it doesn't have any heat spreaders on it. So I don't know whether it's going to be basically, it doesn't have an XMP profile, so you can't do anything with it. So if you have to manually overclock it. So that might be next week's stream actually. Can we overclock the snot out of cheap DDR4 RAM with no heat spreaders? Or the video may be titled, How to Set Fire to Your PC and Other Treasured Belongings. That goes together quite nicely. I'm not too sure whether I'll go for the bare naked look or the I'm getting a bit paranoid now. Well, that didn't fit properly. Maybe you can't take this apart. Oh no, I've effed it now. Come on, this isn't rocket science. This should just fit in there.
Does it fit around the other way?
Ah, it might do because... Was the logo... I might have to rewind. Somebody rewind the stream. Oh yeah, that's what it is. So that logo there, that logo there. Of course, stupidly. I just said, didn't I? I told you all. I said it's asymmetric. So it doesn't matter if it's that way up or that way up. Because you've still got the thing in the thing. So it's asymmetric. No, it is symmetrical. It's the same both sides.
Yeah, you got told that in the stream.
That's what I said earlier, probably.
But wrong.
Bandy says, what happened to the GameMax cooler review? I don't think I was going to do a GameMax cooler review, was I?
Don't think we've had one.
No. They did. They reached out to us about reviewing their newest one. The weird kind of tower thing. But I I politely declined that one. I just didn't like the look of it. It looked a little bit too, I don't know what the word would be. But it didn't work for me, and we had a lot on at the time, so I politely declined.
Aesthetically pleasing YouTube name keeps saying that's symmetric.
Symmetric.
They will remind you again.
I shall remind you. Thank you, aesthetically pleasing YouTube name. Look, I'm just a simple West Country boy. Simple and borderline stupid and forgetful and
Watch out.
and probably a little bit of ignorant in there as well. So if you tell me something, I'll probably forget it or just ignore it. Kath's used to that. And it's not. I don't do it intentionally. I just I have difficulty. I have difficulty processing multiple things at once. So if I'm breathing and just kind of looking and doing something and thinking, yeah, that's a lot of CPU. I'm like an Apple Watch in that regard. So,
Poppy, no.
get down! Thank you.
You haven't done what you've said before.
That, my friends, was pretty cool. Where did that go? I can't believe she actually did what she was told.
Good job, Pops.
Don't know why that's on there, that cardboard. Would it stop that flexing much in transit? Don't think it would. Poppy's mousing it now. Mike, how many coolers don't come with LGA 1700 brackets? It's been a nightmare to get brackets. Yeah, it does seem to be... Poppy, come here, Babs. There you go. Don't press the button. And don't attack me. Right, sleep. No, not lick. Sleep. Can you go to sleep, please? The ladies and gentlemen don't want to be distracted by you. And I don't be either. Sorry. Got a bit deaf in that ear now. Mike, is that supposed to be how come many coolers don't come with it? I'm not sure, Tridents, but yeah. It does seem to be quite a common thing. Obviously, you'd think that LGA 1700 being how kind of inherently popular it's been, or will be, you'd think that there would be a lot more kind of effort put into actually conversion kits. I know Noctua have done pretty decently. I'm not sure about other companies, such as probably the likes of Arctic. They were saying that it was being done. Whether or not it has been or not, I don't know. How does this actually go back in here? Was anybody watching this? Oh, crap. That's probably going the wrong way now. So that goes...
Did you have one of those toys as a child where you actually shaped in a ball for like an
yeah,
thing?
yeah. It's like the Fisher-Price ball, isn't it? So...
I could picture you sat there in his diaper figuring it out.
That looks like it goes there. Yeah, that works, I think. And then that doesn't. So that must be for that side. So that goes... Nope. Oh my days. This is good content, by the way, just in case you're wondering. If you're thinking, why am I watching this moron? So, because this is content, you just don't realise it yet. So that bit on the bottom was to protect that. Okay, we've learned nothing. There we go. Where did I put the box? There it is. So anyway, there will be a full review well, I say full. I'll be doing what I normally do, sticking it in my PC, running Cinebench, idling for a bit, taking some measurements. Come on then. You coming over? Come on then. Yeah, Uggs has got to have his graphs.
That's amazing.
Yeah, don't be fighting. Fighting is not allowed. Unless your name's Will Smith, I guess. Not allowed to say that. How did that go in there? Did that go in there? Oh yeah, because that covers up basically some of the box, doesn't it? O'Reilly, oh so cute, Mike or Poppy trying to do a Crocodile Dundee, how to subdue a water buffalo. I'm going to try that later. That's going to be awesome. So here, this is, that has been Mike's boxing, or Mike Tyson boxing. Do you know what, the amount of people who still ask me that question, I still get it all the time. So they say, so what do you do? I say, well, I do unboxing. They're like, what? You're a boxer? No, I take things out of boxes.
And then they call
like, what do you mean? It's like, well, have you seen QVC? Yeah. Well, think of that, just shit. That's basically what I do.
And then they go, oh, I'm packing.
They go, oh yeah, how's that unpacking doing, Mike? You still unpacking stuff? Yeah, that's basically what I do. I unpack stuff for the ladies and gentlemen at home to enjoy, so they don't have to, or just so they can actually get out and do. Yeah, they can just be sad and watch these things. Super chat from Stuart Cleary. Thank you, Stuart. I think I've gone a bit delirious. This probably is about right. Stuart Cleary actually asks a very decent and interesting question there. Mike, it's me. Will you ever do a custom water loop and please a letter? Well, is that one thing or is that two things? If you're asking me to please a letter, I would argue I'm probably not the best endowed to do that. On the other side of it, if I'm, what's that?
A bit over-endowed.
Yes. Will I ever do a custom water cooling loop? I definitely will. That is on my goal of things to do. I was actually looking, Thermaltake do some kind of pre-assembled kits. So 360mm rad, hard tubes, fittings, pump, blah, 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 etc., etc. And I really want to use one of those kits because I've never bent a pipe in my life. And I want to try and see how it works. And if I'm rubbish at it, at least I can buy new acrylic pipes, I'm guessing. I've never done it. I really want to do it. I like looking at water cooling. I think it looks amazing, and the custom side of it means that it just, yeah, you can take a little bit of artistic flair in it. Now clearly I've got absolutely zero artistic flair. If you look at the layout we've got here, you can tell that I've got no clue whatsoever. But yes, I definitely I definitely want to do it. It's something that I've always wanted to do. Now there's two reasons why I haven't done it. One, I do worry a little bit about water leaking, and secondly, I'm tight. I don't want to buy it, is the simple answer, because the whole price per performance thing doesn't always work out for me. So like I can buy one of these coolers for 50 quid and it will get the job done. Spending 500 quid on a radiator and fittings to get a few degrees less, to me, seems like a slightly false economy. There's a super chat from OReilly, which I should acknowledge. I support the goal of Mike doing a custom water loop, but please use plumb-based tools and equipment. I probably would. I'm pretty sure that you can adapt G1/4 fittings to 22mm copper fittings. And I would quite like to do that. Although, for me, the point of doing water cooling would be to actually see the fluid. And no doubt the bubbles in grime, because I haven't looked after it properly. Letter says, tell Mike to go with soft tube for his first water cooling loop. Now that was going to be my next part. One of the companies that we've worked with recently, OReilly, which if you've not seen some of their videos, actually, that's Monday, isn't it? Is that coming out Monday, isn't it?
I think so.
Yes, it is. We've got it scheduled already. So on Monday there is the OReilly M240 ARGB radiator. Now I did mention in that video, they do a kind of like a custom kit with soft tube and fittings from OReilly, which is what I consider to be a slightly more budget company, or at least one of those companies which is trying to break into the mainstream. Whether they will or not, I don't know. Their stuff's pretty decent. So I actually said in the video I would quite like to try their kit that they do with the soft tubing. I think that would be a really interesting video. But I couldn't find anywhere in the UK that sold it, or I couldn't find out any real main prices about it. If the price isn't too prohibitive, Granville, I might get it. Or I might ask them if I can either buy it at a reduced cost, or if they just want to send it to me for review. And I think that would generally make a very interesting review for people that have never done water cooling, because I would be in the same boat. Because I've never done water cooling, custom cooling. So if they send me the kit, I will go through, basically start to finish, how to do it, and possibly even do it in a live stream, which I think actually would be beneficial to do it in a live stream. So
you can cut out the F words.
Any pitfalls or anything that goes wrong, you can see it in real time. So if you're a sadistic bastard and you want to see me fail miserably or electrocute my poor computer parts,
It was me.
Kath's talking about pipeline parts. Yeah, I think that would be, it'd be a fun thing to do. And because I've never done it before, I would really like to do it. So yes, I think it would be okay. Simon Arden's with us. Says, evening, better late than never. How you doing, Simon? And yeah, so I would, because it's a soft tube kit, obviously that's going to be a lot more forgiving for my first time. Stuart Cleary says, don't do it live. I think I would like to. For two reasons. One, because I am a lazy bastard and filming it is actually hard work, and Kath would have to film it as well. So God knows how that would turn out. No offence.
But his hands get in the way a
Yeah.
lot.
So I would quite like to do it, but I think doing it live would be more fun and interactive, and then people can ask questions and see how easy it all is. I can't imagine it being very difficult with soft tubing, to be fair.
You've done a fish filter.
Just wet. So yeah, I really would like to do that.
You did under gravel fish filter once, didn't you?
I did actually do an under gravel fish filter in my fish tank, and that worked, and the fish didn't all die. Apart from the ones which died and we threw out onto our next door neighbour's patio. That must have confused the bejesus out of them. Why have I got tiger barbs on my patio?
The cat brought home.
Because me and Kath were flinging them out the window.
They were dead. Just couldn't be bothered to go to the toilet.
Oh dear. Lucky Man says, Ozai rubbish, sorry, Ozai CPU cooler M120D+. Temperature display, don't show temps proper, 55 degree real temp, 24 degrees shown on the readout. Yeah, Lucky Man. Was it you who said about it earlier in the Discord chat? And yeah, none of those on that design, like the Sahara ones, none of them show the actual real temperature of the CPU. All they will show is the temperature probe temperature, which is either on top of the heatsink or possibly even in the fluid in terms of the water cooling. So yeah, those are never accurate. They look okay and they're a guide if anything. They might tell you air temperature or something, but yeah, they're not particularly good. I think that is Paul Lamont. How you doing, Paul? He says, I'd watch that mic with fingers in my ears as you rant. Yeah, you might want to wear headphones or keep children out of the room.
Headphones with a mute button.
To be honest with you, I looked at their kit. Actually, I'm going to get the kit up on the screen so you can have a look and see what it's like. And see if you think it's actually a good idea. I think it's, yeah, I think it's pretty decent. Soft tubes. There we go. Yeah, this is on ozaicorp.com, so I don't know if it's actually available kind of in the real world as of yet. How am I going to do this? That'll do it. So desktop, is that showing the right desktop? Yes it is. Oh, sorry, Paul Lamont, I've got your text on there, but, well, you'll have to live with it. So, there it is the kit. So you've got a CPU block, and you've got the reservoir with a little bit of RGB going on the bottom. By the look of it, it's got RGB on the bottom over here. You've got your fill ports. It's pretty simple.
Does that change colour, or do you have it as that colour?
What, the fluid?
Yeah.
I think the fluid, they've actually, on that particular instance, they've actually coloured the fluid.
So can we get Mikesunboxing blue?
If we can get Mikesunboxing blue, I'd be very happy. And they're saying it's a copper radiator, which I don't want to doubt them, because they're potentially going to send one, but it's actually slightly unusual to have a copper, because you'd have aluminium. Because copper radiators are expensive. So a nice little RGB heatsink. Although I don't think that is actually RGB, is it? They've just put those colours on there. Because there doesn't appear to be any way, although saying that you can't see any of the wires. So, yeah. Oh, that's the gallery, isn't it? So I can move across. So yeah, it looks like an interesting little kit. It's clearly not going to be a D5 pump. At least you wouldn't have thought so. And the Ozai fans actually on the radiator that we're reviewing on Monday, they were really good, quite quiet. And you've got what appears to be nice looking fittings there, whether or not that's a digital image or the actual things themselves. It looks like it's a digital image, to be fair. And you've got soft tubing. And you've got some clamps and all that kind of stuff to keep it in place. You've got a little RGB controller and all that stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how it comes through. I would like to have been able to see the connectors on there to see whether or not it's 3-pin addressable RGB or whether it's going into like a Sahara style hub where it's all a little bit weird.
Why don't you do it blindfolded as well?
Blindfolded with water, yeah, what could go wrong there? Yeah, it doesn't really say much about it there. WR240. So the water pump and the reservoir combination actually does have RGB in it as well. And it supports OReilly sRGB. Is that a new thing? I've never heard of that. And OReilly RGB style, and supports Aurora and RGB Fusion. So, truthfully, I've got no idea when it comes to these individual parts whether or not it's any good or not. But it does appear to be quite good. In terms of, if it's a decent price, like, I don't know how much you'd even consider paying for that. I would say somewhere in the region of about 150 to 200 pounds would be what I would expect to pay for it. But yeah, anyway, let's go back to the main camera. So yeah, potentially yes, that is an option. I really do need to speak to them actually to see how it works. Aletta says copper rads are the best. Yeah, which is what I don't understand, because you would assume, rightly or wrongly, being that OReilly are, it's a relatively newish company, you wouldn't expect them to go all out on high-end stuff. But Rick H says, looks like a nice bit of kit, learning my British slang. Nice. Paul Lamont says S for sketchy RGB. That is good. That is good. So I'm going to see, actually, can I find this anywhere on sale? No, Enos Tech. So I cannot find it for sale anywhere at the moment, which is yeah, maybe it's not been released yet. But I did know, I looked on their site and I saw it and I thought that looks like a really, really good option. So yeah, I would like to try that. Okay, so yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up. We've been going for 2.5 hours now, pretty much, although I was a little bit late, so we'll give me a little bit of leeway for that. But yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting time ahead. If I manage to water cool a PC, actually, I'm going to look, is there a cheap water cooling kit that I can buy? So 240 mil.
Cool also do a copper rad, but I don't know whether.
240 mil AIO kit. So yeah, because there's a company called RichM, or RichM. Hi Kieran, how you doing? I'm trying to get it back up on the screen now. So RichM do a 240 mil kit, which kind of almost looks identical, and they are selling it at the moment on overclockers.co.uk. It's the Scalia Elite CA240 ARGB water cooling kit. But for some reason, it's the page doesn't want to load. I'm on some overclockers.co.uk loop. Your browser will go back shortly. Oh, come on. Right, so that's clearly not going to work, is it? Actually, let's just go on Amazon. It's probably easier, isn't it? I did look at doing this on Amazon a while back.
Aletta only buys thermal take or e-cake water cooling parts.
The thermal take kit is something which I have looked at, and for upcoming thermal take videos would be very nice to be able to stick some thermal take stuff in the rig. My concern is whether or not thermal takes kits are compatible with other manufacturers in terms of the RGB. Actually, maybe Aletta, you can answer that. Does the thermal take RGB connectivity?
She wouldn't use RGB.
She would use RGB, just probably the R, not the rest of the BGs. Water cooling kit. Yeah, because the thermal take traditionally normally use their kind of weird 6-pin connectivity thing. So yeah, Thermaltake do the Pacific C360, which is a DC a DDC res pump combo, 5-volt motherboard sync, which kind of looks the same sort of deal. It's a 360mm rad, at the moment 300 quid, which kind of feels like a lot of money. But I appreciate that, and that's a soft tube version. If you want the hard tube version, it is 368, which, yeah, is even closer to 400 quid, which terrifies me slightly. But I would genuinely like to have a look at it and see what it's like. Matthew Day says 77 quid for a kit on AliExpress. I did look at some of the AliExpress ones, but they do, most of them claim that they're AM3 fitting, not AM4. So yeah, I'm not too sure. O'Reilly is saying EK Classic Kit S360 DRGB Black Nickel Edition, any good for €264. Yeah, actually that might be better. Let's have a look. EK Classic Kit. I'm sure it would be interesting content because, yeah, me being an absolute noob would probably be entertaining. So there's a Waku kit, or Waku, W-A-K-U with the umlauts on the top. What is that? What does that mean? Is that a thing that I've missed out on?
Do you have to use certain cases to mount reservoir?
Nick, yeah, with the case situation, you need the room for it. That is the kind of the thing. You need to have somewhere to physically put it. Although a lot of the reservoir mountings quite often come with fittings to allow you to mount it on top of a 120mm fan or on the side of a 120mm fan. So if you've got the 4 screw holes, you can actually attach a bracket to that and then attach the pump and reservoir to that, so you can have it kind of semi-suspended. Ideally, like if you've got the radiator there, got your fans on the front of it, well, fans on the back, I guess in this situation, then a bracket and then the pump res on the back of there. Keeps it all nice and neatly together. So yeah, the EK kit is about, the 361 is 287, which yeah, looks quite nice. That's again soft tubing. I don't know if it's me or not, but they appear to have come down in prices a little bit. The EK one actually does sound quite compelling, but then it goes back to the thing, it's like, oh no, temporary out of stock, so I can't buy it anyway. But it does go back to that thing of like, it's a 360mm radiator. I've got a 360mm rad in there, so I kind of know what it's capable of. Having more water is going to bring the temperatures down, I guess, to some extent. But yeah, it's something that I would really like to try at some point. Talking of something I would like to try, there's something that you lot should try if you haven't already, and that is to go to this link. I'll put it into the chat right now, and that is the giveaway. So we've got 2 giveaways running at the moment. So we've got one for the Thermaltake Tower 100 giveaway. Now sadly these are going to be for UK only. You can, if you want to, you can enter, but I think if you enter and you're outside of the US, outside of the UK, they'll just pick the next winner. So if you want to support the channel, feel free to click on the links, etc. But if you win, there's a strong chance they won't send it to you for, actually, Techware Forge L is the case we're doing a giveaway in conjunction with Techware. So they're sending that out directly. The other giveaway is for the Thermaltake Tower 100 case in green, which we reviewed ages ago, which I haven't found a suitable use for. So if you want to win that, the details are in the giveaway video, which was released this week on Monday, I think it was. And
Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday. Drop me an email with your suggestions, what you want to do with the case. Over at Thermaltake themselves, Thermaltake UK, Adam. Adam's going to read through your emails, and whichever one he decides he likes the idea of, that will be the winner. Simple as that. I'm not getting involved with it. I'm just going to send him all the emails and say, right, choose a winner, and then we'll be sending it out to you. Thanks, Poppy. Alessa says, I'm excited to see Mike doing some water cooling. Mark Point says, damn, Mike, really want that case. If you're in the UK, oh, you're in Canada. I don't think yeah, I don't think Techwear even sell in Canada at the moment. Potentially they will. That is the thing. Yeah, because it's Techwear UK which are running the giveaway, I can't really override what they're saying or what they're willing to do. So it does currently have to be UK only, which I'm sad about. But there you go. Freckle Pooney says, bought an Acer Aspire 5. I like the Aspire range. Ryzen 3 5300U, quad core, 8 gigs of RAM and 120 SSD, 320 quid, laptops direct. Partly based on your previous Acer reviews. Thanks, Mike. Upgraded SSD to 512 gigabytes. Yeah, the Acer Aspire 5 is a really good point in the market. It's not cheap rubbish. It's not high end. It just gets the job done and does it pretty well at a good price. It's pretty good build quality as well. Mark Points is just being funny. Okay. Christos says, thanks for the stream. Have a nice evening. Thank you very much. So yeah, we should wrap things up. I've been whittling on for way too long now and I have got work to do tomorrow, as no doubt some of you have as well. So thank you all for taking part and joining us for this stream on a Saturday evening. For those of you that are a little bit disappointed that it started a little bit earlier, do apologise, but it's something that I've got to do because otherwise it's just painful trying to get up on a Sunday morning after working and then the wind down time, packing all this stuff away, life, etc. is not an easy thing to do. So we will be experimenting to see how it affects things like views and interaction. If it does affect it in a particularly negative way, then we may consider going back to the later times, or maybe even later still, i.e. Sundays, after I finish work on Sunday. But yeah, potentially that might change. But at the moment, rest assured it's going to be Saturdays, but it may be slightly earlier. 8 o'clock I think seems to be pretty much the sweet spot. Everyone seems to have joined in and tuned in, so that's all good. Yeah. Hopefully you've had some entertainment for your Saturday evening. It wasn't too boring. That's certainly giving you food for thought. So graphics card prices hopefully dropping, along with motherboards and potentially even CPU prices. Next week I think is going to be a very interesting one, but we'll find out next Saturday. We'll tune in and see how wildly wrong my thoughts were, and potentially we might be announcing the winner of the Tower 100 case in the stream if Adam's chosen a winner. So closing date for that will probably be next weekend, I think. I said I was going to do it for about 2 weeks, so that should be fine. Also, the Techwear Forge L, that actually ends, I believe, was it the 4th? I think it's the 4th, isn't it? That ends.
That's got another 10 days, I think.
Oh, actually, I'm going to have a look. Where are we? Sorry, 8 days left. So that ends on the 10th. Sorry, yeah. 10th of April for closing date for the Techwear. Next weekend will be the closing date for the Tower 100. And yeah, we'll catch up with you next time. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for the super chats, donations, memberships, all that kind of good stuff. You guys are absolutely awesome. Yeah, I don't know how you put up with me. I really don't. But maybe there's not much else on TV at the moment, or on YouTube for that matter. Anyway, that's enough of me disrespecting myself. Good night from... Where's Poppy gone?
She's playing with her toy.
Son of a bitch.
Do you want to play with your toy on there?
No, this is fine. I don't want to be attacked by the cat. So, good night from me, good night from Poppy, good night from... Oh, God. Lethal. Oh, that's it. She's taken her toy and she's gone. That's it. So thanks all for watching. We will catch you again same time next week, 8 o'clock, Saturday. Be there or be... That was a rectangle, but you get the idea.